Alright, hello and welcome everybody to Viper versus TaToH. It is going to be the quarterfinals of Holy Cup, $15,000 tournament sponsored by Surfshark, Holy Energy, and Surefire, and it's hosted by Gamer Legion. And how fitting it is that the first quarterfinals is actually an internal Gamer Legion showdown. Initially, this tournament was planned to be only for Gamer Legion players as an internal tournament, but then they decided to expand it to the larger audience, adding two other invited players aside from the six GL members. Those were ACCM and Yo, because they were the players that missed out on Red Bull 05 because of travel restrictions. And then 8 other players could qualify. Some obvious names are in, like Hera and Leary. So we're going to start with Viper versus TaToH. You see, Viper has Japanese, Vikings, Tatars, Italians, Spanish Khmer, and TaToH has Mayans, Huns, Burgundians, Byzantines, Britons, and Berbers. First game is going to be on graveyards, which is basically the Arabia equivalent of this tournament, and we are jumping straight into game number 1 over here for Viper versus TaToH. Down south, we will have TaToH as Red Mayans, and to the north, it's going to be Viper as Yellow Tatars. So, this version of Graveyards actually features the wood lines a little bit further away from your town centers. Normally, they're closer, so it's much easier to wall your base. Bases here are still wallable though, but it takes quite a lot of effort to do so. As you see, the maps have quite a lot of relics on them. I think it's 11 on graveyards all the time. Part of the reason why Viper decided to snipe Lithuanians away from TaToH is because on this map you're almost guaranteed to max out the Lithuanian bonus. So, for now, what we're gonna have to look at is Tatars having a little bit more flexibility than Mayans at the beginning. Mayans are almost guaranteed to play the Archer style Feudal Age and then continue on to Castle Age most likely as well, whereas Tatars have some flexibility. Tatars are allowed to play Scouts very well, and Archers as well. Probably the most reasonable thing to do from Viper though would be to go sort of Scout and Skirm into Cav Archer. That sounds like the best possibility for him here. We'll have down south, as I said, TaToH, who is having a hard time finding wood lines. You see that he was walking around with that villager. That's because his ego is moving forward. He was probably trying to lame sheep from Viper. Speaking of that, Viper is going to send the 4 sheep back to his town center. I'm fairly certain that these sheep weren't in a single group and Viper just got them. Instead, it was probably TaToH that took them away from right next to Viper's TC. And now Viper is sending them back. So, looks like TaToH wants to go pretty aggressive over here. He also has an idle villager over here. So, his own eco was a little bit neglected here while he was trying to do damage to Viper, but that's not gonna be a possibility. Viper lures in the first board just now. Keep in mind that Tatars have longer lasting sheep here, which is a very nice eco bonus on this map, and in general it's a very underappreciated eco bonus. Means that you don't have to add farms that early. Could help quite a bit with an archer build, maybe even allow you to squeeze in horse color before starting to add farms, which is a very nice bonus for any civilization playing archers. Oh, so the sheep were in one group? Well, that's somewhat unlucky for Viper. Nonetheless, TaToH tried to take those sheep for himself, but failed to do so. So, both players have pretty open fronts over here, and I don't think that we're going to see either of them walling all the way out here. It's much more like that if we see walls, we're going to see some compact walls. So walls like here, here to the edge of the map, and then maybe like this, so that you sort of secure this back area. It's worth noting that this is one gold mine for TaToH, this is the other. He doesn't really have super safe gold mines. Honestly, the best thing he could do is potentially try and secure this corner, because he's so close to that corner, and that corner has tons of gold, tons of stone, and that's obviously much needed for Mayans over here. Whereas for Viper, he also doesn't seem to have super good gold mines, but maybe this one is something he can work with pretty reasonably. He also has a corner here, but it's much harder to wall off. There is only 2 wood lines that are protecting it. Whereas for TaToH, this is like basically Black Forest. Super easy wall off, and then you have a bunch of gold in that corner. That's probably what he has to build on. Anyways, TaToH for now is 4 on wood, no surprise about that one. Viper is only 3 on wood, which is an indication that we're going to see scouts coming from him. So with TaToHs, you should be able to nail at worst a 20 pop timing, or this could also be a sort of fast archers play, so 21 pop archers could also be a possibility. Barracks on the way for Viper, and it looks like this is going to be indeed an archer play. This is a late barracks for a man-at-arms opening, so I'll be a little surprised if Viper actually went man-at-arms here. It's not impossible, but it would be a little bit late. It would be a 21 pop man-at-arms, by the way, so the timing would be very nice on that still. Other side, for TaToH, he's going for a barracks himself. Looks like this is just going to be standard man-at-arms from him, though. 23 pop with Mayans is sort of the reasonable timing for the man-at-arms play. Or what is he up to? Still no villagers being sent to gold. Okay, now he's moving out, and there should be militias coming up soon for him. He's also pushing deer, so a bit of an extra food for him. He still has 2 sheep left over. Decided to add the farm, surprisingly, despite the fact that he didn't necessarily need to do that. And indeed, here come the militias. Viper Scout is around, and you see he's poking around the barracks, sees the flags. He should know that this is going to be a man-at-arms play, and his own men-at-arms are going to be on the way. At this point, I'm fairly certain that TaToH just wants to trade off men-at-arms over here, despite the fact that he hasn't seen the barracks, so he might not suspect that Viper is actually going for men-at-arms. Going for men-at-arms with TaToHs is somewhat unconventional, but not unprecedented. TaToHs have the economy to be able to field the men-at-arms without any problems, even with the 21 pop-up time. And then follow it up nicely with archers. It's just a matter of, you know, usually you see scouts opening from TaToHs because eventually they want to play cav archers, so you wouldn't need a stable for the upgrades anyways. Here come the militias, soon to be men-at-arms by Viper. There is an exposed villager over here, I believe, or is there a palisade behind him? Looks like there might be, it's just, you know, being covered by the mill itself. So TaToH's got the berry villagers safe, and it looks like TaToH is sending his men-at-arms forward. He's confident with his defense. He says, okay, my gold miners are safe, my berry villagers, lumberjacks are all safe. So what I'm gonna do is just make an archer range, clean up these men-at-arms myself, and send my men-at-arms forward. Now Viper should know this. Viper saw the flag on the barracks, so he should be 100% sure that there is at least one militia out and there could potentially be more. But this is a perfect spot to hit for TaToH on the left side of Viper's base. By the way, both of these players are playing with the colors they prefer to play. Viper is playing yellow, and TaToH loves to play red. We see this color matchup a lot because, you know, in Red Buffalo, this is the usual color matchup, and this is where this man-at-arms opening gets interesting. While for Viper's aggression, TaToH can just make a spearman to deal with the scout, and then use the archer to pick off the man-at-arms. That's not as easy for TaToH, or for Viper over here. Because Viper has to deal with an eagle, and he doesn't have a unit that can easily deal with eagles. And you see that he's splitting up the archers for now, trying to drag them away. Men-at-arms will probably wait for 1 or 2 archers to come in. I'm fairly certain that TaToH's gonna send 1 archer forward, and the idea will be that the eagle drags away the archers to the right. Men-at-arms will try to hit the walls here, and an archer behind will start killing vills, or at least that's probably what was on the mind of TaToH for now. Looks like everybody is just pulling the men-at-arms back for a time being. Viper also giving up on the aggression. This is the moment where I think the economy of Mayans will start becoming better and better compared to TaToHs, especially when you start adding the fact that they get a discount on the archers. You already have a blacksmith and fletching for TaToH, as it looks like the men-at-arms will now get chased down by the archers. Viper is still sending all the men-at-arms back. I think Viper just wants to trade off the men-at-arms now with the support of the archers. But hold on, because Viper is forced to chase these men-at-arms on the left, which could possibly allow these archers to hit his gold mine, and that would be jackpot. I don't think that Viper is expecting this push on the gold mine just yet. He's sending on a scout to the right side to deal with the Eagle, and this is the moment where Viper is going to notice that there is some archers coming in. 3 man-at-arms are also back at home here, and this is why I said that these men-at-arms dragging away the archers is something that's really impactful here. Because right now Viper doesn't have the archers to fight this, and there is going to be idle time at minimum. Potentially some killed wheels even for Viper, who is now off from gold. He's gonna add 1 or 2 skirmishers and he should still be able to deal with this one. But that's a small little advantage that TaToH can grab. Added to the fact that TaToH now has a skirm in here, and we could possibly see him focusing down the archers once again. And he's gonna clean up a couple of archers from Viper, although Viper will be able to retaliate by picking off the Eagle. Is he gonna pick off the Eagle? TaToH should save that Eagle. Viper comes in with the trap, and that should be a cleanup now on the side of Viper. So at the end of the day, Viper is at 5 kills, 2 deaths, but he had a lot more inefficiency when it comes to economy. He got delayed with gold mining quite a bit. He's pretty heavy on the farming side of things already, as TaToH is coming in with some more archers and skirms. TaToH's only playing 1 range, Viper is also only on 1, but you see that the resource bank right now for TaToH is much better compared to Viper here. Now, we will have TaToH sending out a couple of villagers to take the hunt. That's a nice little touch, I kind of like that. I always appreciate when players use the hunt available, and it looks like Viper will be on the defensive for the time being. TaToH also grab +1 defense, so skirmishers and even the archers are much better than Viper's ones. So, TaToH adding range number 2 now, and the market as well. A little surprised about that market, as the men-at-arms on the left side will try to bash their way through the walls. This isn't really a threat to Viper, it's more like an annoyance. I think Viper should just send 1 archer here to clean those up. Those are fairly damaged, so they shouldn't be able to do much here. Viper has his man-at-arms still alive, which is a pretty valuable asset right now, because he can deal with the skirmishers pretty easily if there isn't really a lot of archer support to it. But TaToH is thinking about something different. He is gonna click up to Castle Age. He might need to buy 100 food at this pace, but that's probably part of the plan for him. I don't think he's gonna sell his stone here. He can possibly just buy 100 food with the gold he has, and that's indeed the case. Bit of an eco-balancing coming in, and TaToH is gonna click up to Castle Age much faster than his opponent. Keep in mind that when Viper reaches Castle Age, he's gonna get Thumbring for free, so TaToH has to do damage before that, and he's sort of working on that. Managed to pick off a couple of archers from his opponent, and I think he only lost 1 archer himself. Very nice micro. He sort of isolated the men-at-arms from the archers, and now he's diving in with skirmishers. Those skirmishers really paying for their price. Now both parties have a +1 defense. Look at what TaToH is doing. He's just sort of throwing away those skirmishers, but he's picking off precious archers. That's the idea here for TaToH. And now, the question is he gonna continue with archers, or is he gonna start adding eagles? Looks like he's not adding any eagles. And I would also support just going for crossbowmen for the time being. Although what I would have loved to see for TaToH is adding a couple of eagles here in Feudal. Because that would have been a very, very nice meat shield type unit, and it would also have dealt with skirmishers, should Viper go for that. Right now, it is 22 army against 10, and Viper is getting forced back. Viper just now finished the 2nd range, I believe, and villagers are being pulled to fight this. TaToH is in a great position. He's 1.5 minutes ahead compared to Viper going into Castle Age, and now Viper could be off from gold any moment. TaToH is being very, very cautious not to overcommit to this one and lose his army, so he's just waiting for the Castle Age upgrades now. Will want to use that power spike with crossbowmen to finish this. The men-at-arms on the left side are still just a little annoyance for Viper. This is the main source of problems right now for Viper, who is now going full skirmishers. TaToH is adding range number 3 here. He's up to Castle, and he's even adding Elite Skirm. So he just wants to guarantee a fight won over here. And you see, in the moment TaToH reaches Castle Age, we will see a defensive tower from Viper. He knows exactly there is no way he just holds this with army. The tower should go up, but I think that TaToH could easily just camp beneath it. He's gonna dive in, pick off 1 wheel, and looks like he's just gonna disengage, or is he? He seems a little indecisive right now. he picks off another Vil, and then he just commits. I like that. He has a lot of elite skirms here, so they're somewhat resistant to the tower fire, and it's very unlikely you can push this gold mine. So, best choice, try to push the back of Viper's base, force him to make a lot of quick walls here. Viper is almost up to Castle Age as well, but you see, if TaToH sends a couple of skirms to the left side, he can start harassing Viper's Wood lines, and Viper is now off from Wood. And this is where things are getting really difficult for Viper. He is just now getting the crossbow upgraded, but even that won't help, because he's up against elite skirms. The elite skirms are missing +2 defense, sure thing, but Viper will just be unable to replenish his army right now, because he's getting pushed from 2 sides and he just doesn't have resource income. So you see, he's taking a straggler tree on the right side. Very, very bad position to be in for Viper. Now Viper is coming in with the elite skirm as well, but I think at this point, TaToH's economy is just going to be a lot better. He's already on 3 ranges. Ballistics will come in to help with the micro. Viper still has Thumbring, and that's not something that should be overlooked. And now he's getting +2 defense as well for his elite skirms. But if Viper is going very heavy on elite skirms, that's the moment where TaToH needs to start thinking about an eagle switch. Or even if he's not switching entirely, he should mix in a couple of eagles, because that could be a devastating unit to add over here. And you see, Viper is just unable to access Wood right now. That's all that TaToH wants. Like, TaToH at this point doesn't really want to fight this. He just wants to run around and make sure that Viper is unable to access Wood as long as possible. Viper has lost 6 villagers so far, although TaToH has 1 minute 10 seconds more TC at all times, so that compensates for 3 villagers of that. But still, now that TaToH has ballistics, he decides to take this fight. It's not like he has a choice. And you see, he's just gonna pick off the crossbowman, trying to focus down the more precious units. I see a forward siege workshop and an interesting spot for TaToH. But at this point, as I said, it's Viper's eco being in a quite tough spot. TaToH has already added a second town center. He has a university for ballistics. He has +2 defense coming in as well. So I feel like, while he didn't do enormous damage here to Viper, he managed to set Viper back just enough to make sure that he has a convincing lead now. I would say that 400 score difference pretty much resembles that. Once again, skirms at the back of the wood line here, trying to harass the villagers. Same thing on this one. TaToH knows exactly that this wood line has run out. So he knows exactly that Viper has to move either to this one, or this one. This is why he's pressuring all of those. And when a forward siege workshop comes in, Viper is going to struggle dealing with the mangonels, because he doesn't have his own siege workshop, he doesn't have knights whatsoever. You see TaToH is picking off villagers over here. I'm not 100% sure, but 2 villagers being dead around here makes me wonder if the 1000 rally point is set over here. Because those villagers shouldn't have died. Viper is now down 9 vills. Looks like he either fixed the rally point or it was never set there. But these stragglers being chopped makes me feel like these crossbows and skirms got some value for themselves. At this point, we're seeing TaToH with 2 TCs. He's also adding villagers on stone. In the long run, he wants to play this one with plumed archers, something that Tatars don't necessarily have a great answer to. You can make an argument for the cav archers with the pierce armor that Tatars have, but it's always a tricky spot because you have a lot of plumed archers to fight against, so we will see about that if we get there. TaToH moves in on the left side. Once again, Viper's eco efficiency is 10% lower than TaToH's one, and he just keeps losing villagers left and right. 2 more villagers, 3 more go down over here, and then push on this side happening as well. So I just feel like at this point, though Viper is launching a counterattack, that wouldn't do anything, and indeed, Viper calls the GG over here. TaToH grabbing that nice early start, and really the key fight was that he was able to force off Viper from that gold. So from that point on, he had a slight advantage to work with, and he could just start snowballing the game. His second range was faster, which meant that he could just outnumber Viper a little bit better. And keep in mind, Viper went for 21 pop man-at-arms, which is pretty tight. TaToH went for 22 pop timing. And because of that, TaToH's eco wasn't strained that much. He was able to add the blacksmith earlier for the earlier archer upgrade, and he was also able to add the second range earlier. And as I said, one of the key moves from TaToH was that he used the men-at-arms and made Viper chase those men-at-arms to the left, and then came in from the right hit that gold mine. That was the difference between the two players, because that allowed TaToH to initiate the fights. TaToH even went on to play this one safely, just go for defensive Siege Workshop. Boso versus Boso and Horse Color over there. But as I said, I think the key fight was being able to start pressuring this gold mine, and then from that point on, TaToH just had a more efficient economy. He could reach Castle Age easier. Keep in mind that in these long extended Archer wars, Mayans obviously benefit a lot from their or not their eco bonus, but in general their civilization bonus. So that's part of the equation as well, that you benefit massively from your civilization bonus, whereas for Tatars, once sheep runs out, you don't have a specific bonus for Feudal Age here, right? So Viper's civilization sort of ran out of bonuses for this part of the game, whereas for TaToH, that just piled up more and more, especially once we got to Castle Age. That leaves us with a 1-0 scoreline for TaToH over here. He's going to have his win with Mayans, and Viper is going to take the loss with Tatars. And now we're going for game number 2, which will be apparently on a map called Starfighter. It's one of the most badass names I've ever heard for an Age of Empires map. Which is Starfighter? Starfighter is actually a map I saw when Nili was reviewing the maps for the map making competition, because there was a map making competition here in this tournament. So what basically happened was, you could submit your map. It had to be sort of holy themed or relic themed. Had to do something with Holy Cup. So yeah, there were quite a lot of submissions, and then there was basically a jury of like 6-7 people that made the ultimate decision on that map. It was, I think, TWS, Nili, and Nadia are the people I know that have been evaluating the maps. Alright, let's take a quick look at Starfighter here. How does that look like? Where is that? It's looking like this. So the way it works is that it's a little bit like Scandinavia with some shallows in the middle. There is a rock church in the middle that I think gives you a trickle of gold. But there is a monk in the middle. It's a Gaia monk that converts units that are getting close to it, and it cannot be killed by melee units. So it can only be killed by archers, and then you can take over the rock church in the middle. Aside from that, I feel like this could be a Stalemate map as well, because, water separating players is always something that can end up in stalemates, so I'm a little concerned for that. Looks like the game is starting. I appreciate the players not spending a lot of time in between games. Shout out to Viper and TaToH for being very swift with lobby setup. And we are just waiting for the spec countdown to end. Did it restart? Oh, TaToH's PC froze. Well, at least while they are actually rehosting the lobby, we will be able to see the map. And you see, it's gonna be Vikings versus Byzantines. So, what's up with these civilizations here? Vikings will just be the generally better civilization when it comes to economy, but they don't have fire galleys, so it's gonna be a little bit tricky to fight on water. Whereas for Byzantines, the only reasonable thing I can imagine here is going for water. Everything else just feels way too off, right? What's the point of picking Byzantines here if it's not for water? I just don't know. I don't think that there is a point even to pick Byzantines here. The two civilizations' land army wise are actually pretty similar, so Vikings can land a pretty fast Imperial using their economy. Byzantines can land it with the discount they have. Both of them are arbalest focused, they have siege ram as well. Cavalry is slightly better with the Catapracts for Byzantines. And here we go. As someone said on the chat, there might be a re here because TaToH's PC froze, but we should see that in a matter of moments. Anyways, this is just for the introduction of the map. You see, The side shallows are a little bit more narrow compared to what you would experience on Scandinavia, but still plenty of deep fish to work with. The middle is separated by shallows, and there is the rock church I was talking about, with the Gaia monk, or well, priest in this case, in the middle, that actually convert units that get close by, so you gotta be careful when you scout around that area. Alright, so as long as... I'm not 100% sure anymore if this was actually restarted. So we'll have to see. Yes, this is the brand new patch. Anyways, for now, I'm just gonna pretend this is the rehosted lobby. Yeah, this is what I was thinking as well, that I think by this time, if this was a restarted one, then it should end the information stream. Anyways, I'm just gonna start casting it as if this was the main one, and if it's actually a well, so be it. So, that on the right side is Byzantines in red, and to the left side is going to be Viper as yellow Vikings. So, let's take a look at this map over here. You see that both players have open fronts. I think the map is scripted this way. And other than that, it's pretty easy to wall off the sides if you need to, but I would assume there is going to be some water fighting going on. Now the question is, and I don't know, chat, help me with that. This ice over here, is it traversable by ships? Like, what's the idea? Can you move your ships from the outside to the inside over here? Okay, so you can. Thanks, chat, I appreciate it. In that case, you probably go for a dock out here. And then you possibly just try to control this choke point later on. For now, you're just gonna fight for fish, most likely. Speaking of that, you see Viper is 4 on wood, and there is the villager going for a dock. Now, this is a little risky to send the villager out without loom and alone. And you see Viper is moving to the north. He's moving to the north. He knows exactly that TaToH could be sending out a villager any moment, and he just wants to intercept that will. But TaToH is one step ahead. He even grabs loom. So when you send that villager out, you either grab loom or you send your scout to accompany that villager. But you should never do what Viper did, send the villager out without loom, because that's an invitation for disaster. If TaToH had his scout over here, Viper would have had his dog delayed. I don't think he would have lost the villager because he was relatively close to his TC and it's Viper with the quick walls, but it would have delayed the dock if TaToH finds an angle on that villager. Nonetheless, we're gonna have TaToH with the first boar already in. For Viper, he already has the first boar as well, just now brought in the second one. Now, Vikings don't get any meaningful Dark Age bonuses, so that makes them pretty much even with Byzantines. But once we start progressing deeper into the game, even just in Feudal Age, the Vikings' economy advantage will start showing over the Byzantines. And considering that the two docks are very, very far apart, that should favor Vikings. Because Vikings, with their galley play, they need some time to amass galleys, and that's something that Viper can do when the two docks are this far apart. Fun fact, by the way, as I was looking over Wikipedia, I often noticed that the player winning graveyards usually loses the set in this tournament so far, so we'll see if that tendency continues or not. Alright, so for now, it's just gonna be happy fishing over here for both parties. Viper, I kinda like how he's placing these houses. It's not like he needs to wall a lot on land because it's somewhat unlikely to have land aggression, although you never know because the two docks are so far apart. But I appreciate how he's adding walls slowly so that in case there is land aggression, he doesn't need to wall that much. Now, he is pretty low on sheep now, and he didn't push in a single deer, so he's gonna run out of food beneath his town center. He is going to click up to Feudal with 25 population. It's pretty standard for these hybrid maps over here. And for TaToH, he did push in 2 deer, and the chat is saying that TaToH missed some sheep. Indeed, he did. 2 deer being pushed in pretty much compensates for that. Obviously, it would have been easier for TaToH to grab the sheep, but such things can happen. He was focusing a lot on scouting and obviously protecting that villager, maybe trying to snipe a Viper dock villager, and Viper is actually gonna go for barracks. This is what I was referring to. Normally on this map, I think you would play water aggression, but when the two players are so far apart, you can make a case for land aggression. But I was thinking about TaToH going forward, potentially, with even a spear and skirm tower approach. That would be a fun one to have. Spear, skirm, and towers, followed with fire galleys on water, and then you could potentially force off Viper from the water, because your towers could push him off from gold. Anyways, looks like Viper wants to play men-at-arms. Remember, we're playing the new patch, so these units are now a lot sturdier, and especially with Vikings, you would have the extra HP once you reach Feudal Age. But TaToH finds the 2 sheep now, and it looks like TaToH just wants to go for water for the time being. Adds dock on the right side. Now the question is, what can Viper do with the men-at-arms? Possibly nothing, because TaToH's gonna spot the militias. So from this moment, TaToH knows what's up, and remember, Viper has to take the long path. If Viper goes on this hill, the monk is gonna start converting his men-at-arms, and you see, I think Viper won't even do the man-at-arms upgrade. He knows exactly that TaToH has seen him, so I don't think there's a point doing the man-at-arms upgrade anymore. It looks like he actually will. Alright, but you see that by the time that man-at-arms upgrade comes in, the villagers will be walled. So the thing is that the man-at-arms alone won't do much of a damage. The first couple of archers could though, and those man-at-arms could be great at dealing with the skirmishers of TaToH. You see, TaToH was completely unaware of those man-at-arms opening. He wasn't expecting it, because he's just now going in with the barracks. Quick walls are coming in here as well for TaToH on the gold mine. And you see, this is the moment where Viper realized that, okay, my opponent just now finished his barracks, so there is no way he has an archer range right now. Behind this one, TaToH is adding a fire galley though, and he's getting ready to push Viper's fish. Viper is adding a galley for the time being, and that is all. And this is the monk feature I was talking about. You run in the middle, and that monk is gonna start converting you. So men-at-arms for now bashing their way through the walls. Byzantines with their extra HP on buildings helps here, because you have 300 HP on your walls. First layer is broken through, but this is still closed for the time being. Archer being picked off by TaToH here. This is big. This is massive. You never like to send archers alone, because a single scout can pick them off pretty easily, and that's exactly what we have seen over here. This is massive for Viper, and this is massive for TaToH as well, because TaToH delays the archer push from Viper, and that allows TaToH to get 1 or 2 archers out to clean up the men-at-arms before Viper's reinforcements could come in. If the archer wasn't picked off, this archer would already be around here, and it would be hitting the villagers on the wood line soon. And now I think TaToH is gonna pull that fire galley and maybe try to intercept the archers once again. He's playing this one so well. And you see, Viper is amassing galleys inside his dock here, and he's waiting for the moment to pop them out, but no fletching just yet. Fishing eco already went down from Viper. I think TaToH is in a great spot. He's gonna start walling himself, and from this point on, I mean, he's got the fishing eco advantage. Viper's galleys aren't really present in large numbers, and they run into the fire galley here in the middle, so one of those galleys are pretty much dead already. And these narrow choke points will eventually favor the galleys, but it's gonna take some time until that materializes. Now, here's the deal though, Viper might find retaliation here on the berries. TaToH was looking so much on the water that I think he completely forgot about those men-at-arms, and he probably underestimated their chance to hit the berries. That's one villager going down on the berries, and what's worse for TaToH is that the archers managed to find a way into the gold mining eco. A skirmisher pops out, supported by a spearman. Should be able to deal with this one for now, but now TaToH has taken a bit of a beating over here. Viper will try to go back on water. So TaToH was in a pretty good position up until now. I would say it's a little bit evening out, especially if TaToH loses that mill. That's gonna be some resources lost in there, and Viper still has a scout over here to try and pick off the skirms as well, but it looks like Viper will be forced away for the time being with those archers and skirms. On the water, Viper is moving in to try and take down the fish. TaToH does have some fire galleys here, but it looks like Viper just wants to dive in and kill eco. So far the eco KD is 3-2, but I think TaToH also has a lot more fish. So Viper has no fishing ships, TaToH has 7. That's also part of the equation. Another villager ran down over here, though. So once again, I think TaToH underestimated Viper's men-at-arms here a little bit. As I said, those guys are sturdy. They're 50 HP men-at-arms. But now Viper wasn't paying attention, and they run into the TC fire. So they all get cleaned up. And when the dust settles, it is going to be a 6 eco advantage for TaToH, who only needs a market to click up right now. His eco is kind of unbalanced. Viper is getting close to clicking up as well. So let's see if TaToH is going for the market. Indeed, he's gonna buy some food and click up. Viper will shortly follow him to Castle Age, as it looks like Viper is gonna start adding knights in the end. Obviously, he's encountering a lot of skirmishers, so adding some knights makes some sense. And it looks like now is the moment where TaToH might try to go in and snipe that monk. It's only 30 HP, but you have to get pretty close to that. Once that monk is dead, you can start taking the rock church, and that's gonna give you a trickle of resources. At this point, Viper is trying to repair his galleys the best he can, but you see he's still not going up to Castle Age, and that's alarming. Because if TaToH beats him to Castle Age by this much, TaToH's gonna have fire ships much faster than Viper's gonna have war galleys, and then the fire ships will just annihilate Viper's galley force. Eventually, the Viking galleys will scale a lot better than the fire ships, because you see Viper has the chance to micro them like this, but considering that TaToH is getting very close to Castle Age here, and he could have fire ships any moment, I feel like this is still an advantage for TaToH for multiple reasons. First off, he does have a consistent eco advantage right now, and I mean, he still has some fishing ships over here, and I think the other thing is that TaToH can control this little choke point here very nicely with the fire ships. So TaToH could just sort of shelter his fishing ships behind this dock. Same thing on this side. And this is where the monk comes in. Holy potatoes! Okay, Capture Age doesn't like... Okay, how do we get rid of this? Capture Age. Okay, I got it. So every time this gets converted and converted back, we're getting an error message from Capture Age. That's what you saw over there. Looks like he wasn't prepared for this script. But now it's in the possession of TaToH, and you see this is the gold trickle I was talking about. It's a pretty big gold trickle, to be precise. You see it's like 2 or 3 gold per second. So it's not something that should be underestimated. TaToH almost with War Galley. This is a fight Viper wants to take before Fire Ship comes in, and he's actually successful at taking that. That's a very, very good fight for Viper just before the fire ship upgrade would come in. TaToH, on the other hand, could potentially kill 2 more fishing ships here from Viper. These fire ships aren't really used well here, though. Like, he should be using these to try and surround these galleys, to be honest. That would be the best thing to do. Crossbows moving in as well from TaToH. They could try to hit the back of Viper's wood line over here. Viper's got some backup wood lines to work with, but the key thing is that there is an opening here on the right side that the TaToH could use to get into Viper space. Looks like now those galleys will be sandwiched. Viper is up to Castle Age, and he's now going for longboats. So he doesn't even want to upgrade those galleys anymore. It's just going to be full longboats. Town center on the gold mine coming in here for TaToH. He's going to have to be careful with this because there's already crossbows pushing it. But he should be able to finish it for the time being. So against longboats, fire ships will struggle quite a bit. Although there is not a lot of space to maneuver for those longboats, so it's not like they can use their mobility that well. They are still going to be a threat, but I think it's not that big of a threat as it could possibly be on other maps. Viper with 1 knight should be able to clean this one up, as he's adding TC number 2. TaToH is already on 3 town centers for the time being. So, for now, it is just fire ships. Viper is microing away the damaged longboats very nicely in here. TaToH possesses a 7 eco lead right now, however, and I feel like for TaToH, he needs to start thinking about pushing the land a little bit more, because water is getting more and more insignificant on the outside. Obviously, the inside is a different question, but I feel like what you could do is something very similar to what we have seen many times from players on Greenland in Red Bull Volo. On Greenland, it was a somewhat similar situation. You have sort of water separating the 2 players, and what you would do is forward the opponent so that you eliminate the water element. Could you explain the Dark Age concept? You only know Empire Wars. Hey Orion, hello there. You know, back in the days when the cool kids started playing this game, people started free villagers and they started building their empire from scratch. That's the Dark Age concept. Anyways, that was going for ballistics here. He is massing a lot of fire ships and he could pop them out right on top of those longboats. TaToH, is he gonna jump? Nope. Looks like he's not gonna jump on longboats. Viper is not very, very heavy on the longboats. He's also on free TCs. TaToH instead decided to go for the ballistics approach. Viper now has the rock church in the middle, so he's the one getting the trickle of gold, but TaToH's gonna get that back in a moment. And now it's going to be a sandwich. TaToH has been waiting for this one. TaToH has been waiting for this one, and these are Byzantine fire ships, so they deal a lot of damage. Oh, such a perfect move here by TaToH. He's even moving in to try and block those fire ships. It's not going to be... TaToH! He's coming in with a demo, but he wasn't sending it in. That demo stopped for a brief moment. It could have been the perfect trap for TaToH. It could have been the perfect trap. Now, keep this in mind, TaToH still has an eco lead over Viper, although he doesn't have wheelbarrow and doesn't have boso, so that might actually even out. But what TaToH needs to do is find this hole. And if he finds that, Viper is going to lose 10 wheels to those crossbows. TaToH's going to try the same trick once again. Just lure the longboats into this choke point and then surround them from two sides. Surprisingly, TaToH is not going for this hole. That actually is very surprising. If he went for this, which is wide open, and he knows it's open because he opened it with his own fire ships, he could just walk in and pick off a bunch of villagers from Viper. Oh, nice move from Viper to lure the crossbows into the longboat fire, however. Helps a lot cleaning this one up. TaToH does have quite a decent fishing eco still. Viper also added some fishing ships, so he's up to 2. He is at 14 longboats, however. We also see some demos coming in for Viper. He doesn't have the War Galley upgrade just yet, though. So, he is not gonna have demo ships just yet. It's just demo rafts. Longboats now moving to the south, and I feel like TaToH has sort of thrown away an opportunity to do a lot of damage here with that opening. He now has no army, and I feel like Viper is slowly taking over, unless TaToH wants to go to Imp. Because with those resources, he could be thinking about that, and that could be a reasonable idea. Going to Imp here for fast fires would be a very nice move as well. And once again, we could see a sandwich coming in here. Oh, a demo from TaToH. TaToH is a master of demos. And if those longboats ever get close, they could be sunk. I think for TaToH, he just needs to sacrifice all those fishing ships. Oh, demo comes in. Beautiful hit there from TaToH. Last second split by Viper. And the thing is that now TaToH has trapped this army in here. Because they will never be able to escape, as there is a dock with 2 demos inside. TaToH is just waiting for the right moment to strike. Oh, his own fire ships might block it. His own fire ships may have just blocked it. I think it was just a little bit premature. Still 2 demos coming from 2 sides. Fire ships will be able to finish this, but this was once again not the best from TaToH. It could have been a lot fancier than this one. And you see the longboats are still alive here in this little corner. I think he was just a little too impatient. If he waits just a couple more seconds for Viper to get closer, then it would have been better. I think he wanted to just fight this. If he just waits and sort of says, okay, I'm just gonna wait until Viper wants to leave and then strike, it would have been way better trade-wise. Now Viper has 25 army, TaToH only has 7. Second range is just now coming in for him, and he might be off from gold because of this. And the bigger problem for him is that he's still up against a lot of longboats. TaToH is even going to face a dock block on the north. You see that this is how Viper wants to avoid getting his ships surrounded. There is going to be 2 docks here that completely block this passage. That still means, however, that Viper is going to have limited space to maneuver, so I'm not 100% sure if that's going to work out well for Viper. Ecos are still pretty close, and Imperial Age on the way for both players. I think I'm favoring Viper now, though. That KD is speaking for itself, but the bigger deal is that Viper's army composition seems to be better now. Crossbows poking around over here. Viper does have ballistics, so he's gonna pick off one villager over there. He does have handcart, boso as well. Viper on or TaToH only with double bit axe, and Viper is coming in for a castle. Now I think Viper is in a commanding position. He could castle drop TaToH here. That's a possibility. Or he could just go for the castle in the middle, and that would solidify control over the map. Secure the Rock Church, which is an impressive amount of gold income. Bracer on the way for TaToH. This is what he was hoping for. He's hoping for fast fires as well, I believe. Indeed, fast fires are on the way. But the thing is that Viper can just go for his own demos. He still has a lot of longboats. And a bigger deal is that now Viper's Viking economy is kicking in. Here's the castle. Obviously, the Rock Church in the middle was benefiting him quite a bit as well. Picks up the relics too. TaToH is now on 4 TCs. Careening, pretty important upgrade over here for TaToH as well. And look at what Viper is doing. Dog blocking both sides. He just wants to camp the Rock Church in the middle, with a castle and 2 docks on each side. The church gives you a trickle of gold. You see this up top? It's pretty big. Viper has 0 relics, and you see that gold going up one by one. Pretty fast, actually. That's what the Rock Church effect. So that's what Viper is playing for. Because eventually, he's gonna be the only one with gold income at this space. Now, demos coming in here for Viper, sinking a lot of fire ships, and this is the type of demos that TaToH never had. TaToH was playing well with the demos, but was just missing out a tiny bit on the huge hits, whereas Viper is definitely capable of delivering those huge hits, as Viper is playing for gold control really heavily here. Send some knights to this gold mine over here. These longboats eventually do get cleaned up, but now Viper has the better position on the map. He's getting arbalest in, and I think, as I said, TaToH never really used this hole that was here the whole time. And that's something that's gonna backfire. TaToH is starting to pick up relics himself. Tries to burn his way through these walls as his orbs are being chased down. There is apparently a tile gap in between these 2 docks. That's because this is a much wider patch of shallows. And Viper did lose the majority of his longboats. He's going for heavy demos, however. He's gonna sink those 2 fire ships. But TaToH slips through. And TaToH could easily find 10 vills here on this wood line if Viper is not cautious. So this game is still far from being over, because now Viper is losing his docks. Here's where Byzantines will start to struggle, however, as Viper might go for a couple of docks here on the north, just to be annoying. TaToH sending out a monk to deal with the knight. Fire ship starts burning the villagers. And the arbalests looks like they're just gonna be chased down by Viper's stuff for the time being. Couple of vills could get picked off. Indeed, there is 1, there is 2. Nice move from TaToH, just to force the issue at Viper's base. Because remember that Viper now doesn't have a big navy. In fact, he has nothing. And if Viper loses a lot of villagers over here, plus he doesn't have navy, things could get scary for him. We are seeing skirms being mixed in by Viper. That's something that TaToH's not gonna be upset about. He's Byzantine, so he can just go for his own skirms. Viper did lose quite a lot of villagers here, and what's bigger is that Viper is losing the water here. Now there's a trap for Viper here that's gonna be hard to take down for TaToH, and that's shelling the TC here. Bombard cannons should be on the way for TaToH the moment chemistry finishes. The question is, what is TaToH gonna do against the heavy demos? Because it doesn't have a direct answer to them right now. Still a big group of orbs from Viper pushing up the middle. TaToH's gonna get a defensive castle up on the gold mine. Viper down to 106 villagers only though, compared to TaToH's 131. There were a couple of archer ranges from Viper here being snuck up on TaToH. Should be no problem for TaToH to deal with this using the castle. And I still believe that Viper, while he has the land army, if TaToH just goes back on water, this will be hard for Viper to deal with. He still has heavy demos in here. I think that eventually TaToH will need to add some galleons himself. That could be reasonable. Start controlling this, and oh, I like this. So TaToH's gonna start burning down that stone wall. That's a pretty reasonable thing to do. Try to open it up for your orbs to move in. Heavy demo coming in once again. Perfect shot on the fire ships, sinking most of them. Arbalests will finish off the rest. Meanwhile, you will have heavy demos coming in here. They're just barely missing the skirms, but Viper was thinking about it. He actually sinks 5s, but this could have been way better. He damaged quite a bit. He doesn't have +4 defense though, and cost efficiency wise, this is still better for TaToH here. Viper is gonna be happy about cleaning that one up though, so that's an advantage, I still think, for Viper. His land army is more convincing, and remember, he's got the Rock Church in the middle that's giving him an enormous trickle of gold now. Still, the walls are being burned down over here, so if TaToH ever wants to walk into Viper's base, the door is open. It's just a matter of TaToH not having army to do that right now. We got the north controlled by TaToH with the docks. Down south, it's Surf even Steven, because we still have some docks here by Viper, who's controlling the middle. Cannon Galleons could maybe help regaining the middle, but it's really hard to do Cannon Galleons here because it's narrow choke points. You first have to deal with these docks, and even after, Viper can just dive in and start picking off the Cannon Galleons with longboats. TaToH went for scale barding. I wonder if that's for light cav or if it's for cataphracts. He only has one castle for cataphracts. Here come the Arabs. Bombard cannons will take some shots. They need to be very careful, however. Oh, TaToH, this could be massive. He's losing one bombard cannon. He's losing two. He's losing three. That's such a blunder for TaToH, and it could be a game-losing fight very easily because now there is no bombard cannons to deal with the trebs. Looks like TaToH is going to disengage, as I see both scale barding and elite. Oh, it's elite longboat. I thought it's elite berserk. No, Viper's gonna go back on elite longboat, and we're going to see cavalry being mixed in from both parties. 3 bombard cannons being lost there for TaToH is just massive. Nonetheless, he breaks in on the right side, and as I said, this door was open the whole time, and this is the way that you can stretch out Viper's attention. Viper is walled all the way to the edge, whereas TaToH isn't, so TaToH can always open up a new front line over here, as Viper is picking up the second relic right now, and this is the type of push that you want to make on Viper's eco. If you set him back with wood income, it's going to be really hard for Viper to replenish those arbalasts, replenish those combat ships, and you see Viper is stacking into elite cannon galleon, but can he actually afford to make a lot of those? It's somewhat doubtful if he's losing his wood lines. There is going to be elite cataphract for TaToH. Now that's a unit that Vikings can deal with, by the way. So elite cataphract in large numbers will annihilate Vikings. It's a matter of, can you get to good numbers, and that's a big question because TaToH only has one castle to play with. Meanwhile, the docks are slowly living down here for Viper, and as I said, while he has the elite longboat upgrade, he only has 8 longboats, has 30 skirmishers, but skirmisher wars is still something that Byzantines will like, as I think TaToH is just buying a second castle for himself. This will be the perfect spot for a castle. With the hill, he's got the Byzantine HP bonus as well, and it looks like the fireships are diving in to deal with the cannon galleons. The fireship won't focus down the cannon galleon here, so I guess this guy's gonna survive for the time being. Bombard cannons coming in here for TaToH. So, as things stand, that's gonna be castle number 2. TaToH's gonna need a lot of time to get to cataphracts. So, and he needs to start training them right now. So, even if he doesn't have the upgrades, he needs to start training them. Viper is now adding a lot of docks in the middle, but I don't see any longboats coming out just yet. First castle for Viper on his own part of the land coming in. He already has one castle in the middle, and remember, the longer the game goes, the better this is for Viper. He's got the Rock Church, and he also has 3 relics as opposed to 1. So you see Viper's gold income is enormous, and I shouldn't click on the Rock Church, I believe. That's why we're getting the error messages. Heavy demos coming in for TaToH, and you know that TaToH loves his demo ships. A couple of demos in the middle could be devastating, and now we are seeing some cannon galleons as well from TaToH. He could try taking some shots on those longboats as well, because if he can hit the middle of that group, he could sink quite a few of them, sending out a couple of commando villagers to help repair. And, well, cataphracts are coming in. Left side of Travis will move up, and there is nothing really for TaToH that can destroy this right now. On the other hand, there's nothing really for Viper that can just protect these. TaToH's gonna have to loop all the way around to hold this one. And as I said, this is one of the 2 cataphract factories here, but hold on, because it is TaToH sneaking through on the left side, And a couple of bombard cannons plus light cavalry here could easily devastate Viper's eco. Big fight coming in on this side. I think that just a couple of chiropracts could deal with this. These castles are pretty sturdy. Viper does have the hill here, but it's still 7,000 HP, and there is a bunch of villagers repairing it. TaToH knows he needs to hold this, but TaToH has the bombard cannons to do so. He does have the skirms. This is a great fight for TaToH. This is an amazing fight for TaToH. He destroys the entire army of Viper, will likely take down the Trebs as well, and still keep that castle alive. You see, Viper realizes that he's losing this one really badly, and he's trying to save the Trebs at least. So, Viper will be able to save 2 Trebs, but now he is not pushing TaToH, and I feel like once this forward is starting to work out, TaToH is going to start taking the initiative. I already see fire ships coming in through the middle, and I think that what TaToH could and should do now, as he's getting some beautiful bombard cannon hits on top of those longboats, Viper is distracted, and Viper is unable to micro those longboats because of that. This is the source of the distraction, and considering that Viper was pretty much full skirms, even the Byzantine Hussar that don't have bloodlines and the blast furnace will be a difficult challenge to deal with. Army numbers are still relatively close over here, but TaToH from this point on just wants to push the starting eco of his opponent, and that's what he needs to do. It's one thing that Viper has a huge amount of gold from the middle and the resource trickle, right? But if you destroy his food eco and wood eco, he will need to buy those resources. If Viper buys those resources, you can sell your own food and wood for gold and compensate for the fact that you don't have mineable gold, or you don't have gold that comes from a resource trickle, pretty much. Because Viper, 4 relics and the rock church in the middle, he's gonna come in with berserks, but this is the moment where TaToH is gonna have to push a different angle. I still believe that Viper is in a commanding position as long as he has this middle area. Anyways, Viper is coming in here with the berserks. Keep in mind that a couple of chiropracts could help immensely cleaning this, but for now I think all TaToH wants is just a distraction. And remember, Viper needs to spend gold units at cleaning up trash units, so that evens out the situation gold-wise, and there is an overchop on the right side that could allow chiropracts to move in. As I said, in the long run, the Vikings have nothing against chiropracts. And you see siege rams are already rolling in here, and I already see a transport coming out for TaToH. He's gonna make the exact same landing just on the other side as well. Viper is, by the way, pop-capped, so he can't make more berserks. He's pop-capped, so it's actually good for him to lose a couple of vills here because he needs army above all. Army numbers are still double for Viper, by the way, but it's about where that army is. And Viper's army is sort of forced to chase siege rams, whereas for TaToH, he's even gonna castle drop this side. Oh boy. That's actually right next to Viper's monastery! What a play by TaToH! If that monastery gets denied, TaToH could pick up all 4 relics and that would easily compensate for the rock church in the middle. That's such a great castle. I don't know if this is just something that TaToH came up with after this landing, or this was the plan the whole time. It's possible this was the plan the whole time for TaToH. That he just wanted to distract Viper with landing on this side, and then get the castle up here. This is a Byzantine castle with almost 7,000 HP. And now that's a monastery that will lose the relics, and TaToH could be up to 5 relics over here. Viper is down to 92 eco, by the way, and while he has 26 longboats, those longboats are pretty much unable to impact the game for now. Looks like the cannon galleons will try to march up on this side, try to take this castle down. But I feel like now Viper could have trouble with gold income because he's only at 4 on gold. TaToH is pretty much out of gold here himself. So you still gotta be careful about this one now. Trash Wars is something Byzantines won't shy away from. And as I said, the moment TaToH sees that monastery, he's gonna start taking it down. That's the entire game plan here. You take the monastery down, secure the relics for yourself. And now Viper doesn't have an amazing gold income either. TaToH at 27 military though, he's dropping pretty rapidly, and Viper still has some mineable gold on the left, whereas TaToH, I think he is completely dry. That's 1 cannon galleon only. That's something that TaToH could potentially try out microing, but there is also 2 traps coming in here to fight this. TaToH desperately needs production. He has the resources, he just doesn't have the production right now to deal with this, and currently he's unable to pick up those relics up either. Viper 87 army compared to 25 from TaToH. TaToH needs more production. I feel like TaToH needs 5 stables back at home and just send in wave after wave of light cavalry, because right now he's really starving for production. Siege Ram now coming in, villagers from Viper are being pulled to deal with that Ram. The Ram is getting through the layer of skirms, but just a little too far away from the traps to take it down. Castle still with half HP, as it looks like the traps are just focusing down the stables. They know exactly that the stables are the key for TaToH to try and get some light cav out, and light cav are the tools of war here to deal with the skirmishers and the traps as well. I think Viper is holding this. Have I mentioned that this game could actually end in a stalemate pretty easily? That's exactly what we're seeing, and I think we're seeing TaToH not being aggressive enough with his army production back at home. Like, he's putting all the resources he has into this landing. The problem is that he still could easily afford to have 20 hussars back at home. This is what we're missing. He has the resources, he has the population space. What he doesn't have is production. TaToH still coming in to repair that castle, and now the counterattack begins. TaToH tries to take down the traps here with the Siege Ram. The Siege Ram gets one hit in. Viper's gonna bring in the villagers to deal with that. Skirms will try to focus down the vills now. A lot of skirmishers here for TaToH. Huge amount of skirms. The castle is still under fire from the cannon galleon. Only a handful of villagers repairing it. Siege Ram now knocking on that trap. Viper is losing his entire army over here, and a lot of precious gold units also get caught in between. The traps are slowly going down, but now the key thing is that cannon galleon. That cannon galleon that needs to be sniped by TaToH to save that castle, and he needs to save that castle to have a shot in this game. If he loses that castle, Viper's gonna have 4 relics, plus the rock church in the middle. Still, as I said, TaToH is desperate for production, but now he's got a huge amount of skirms out. Still nothing to deal with that cannon galleon with. It would be such a blunder from TaToH to hold this and then let the castle go down to a single cannon galleon. He's picking up the relics right now. Still nothing though against that cannon galleon. TaToH is losing that castle against a single cannon galleon that really could just be sniped by a bombard cannon, because the longboats aren't even close. Meanwhile, on the left side, this has been cleaned up pretty much by Viper, so Viper can focus all his attention on this side. Look at this, Viper is body blocking that Ram with the skirmishers. That's intentional and conscious from Viper to use the skirmishers and the spearmen as a meat shield in front of that. And what, TaToH, what is he doing? Is TaToH not noticing that a cannon galleon is hitting the castle? That's such a blunder. He's losing that castle to a cannon galleon. This could be a game-losing move here for TaToH. He's repairing with 4, but still only Siege Ram coming in. He needs like 1 bombard cannon or 5 skirms to snipe that. But he's not doing it. He's so busy fighting this that he's not even realizing he's gonna lose the castle to a cannon galleon. Now it's 2 cannon galleons for Viper. This could be a game-losing move here from TaToH. Because yes, he has 4 relics right now, but he's going to lose them. He's going to lose them because he didn't realize these cannon galleons just now. Yeah, I think he completely forgot about those. And now, as long as this forward is still alive, there is still a hope that, you know, TaToH can just keep Viper away from the relics and sort of play with the extra gold he has. And remember that this is Trash Wars, as Viper has tacked into the brand new buffed swordsman. This is no longer as bad as it used to be. It would be great even on the previous patch in this situation, but now it's amazing, and you see that Viper is gonna target the monastery immediately. I think TaToH may have lost the game losing that castle. And now there is no chance. Viper had the middle the whole time, so he has a very good gold income from that. Those cannon galleons should never have been allowed to take that castle down. The other thing was that Viper collected all the relics throughout this game, whereas TaToH only got 1, so Viper's effort to collect relics is really paying off late game over here, and now TaToH has fallen apart. It's game over. There is no way for TaToH now. All his forwards are cleaned up, he's 150 population. TaToH calls the GG. It's really hard to judge where this went wrong. I feel like TaToH just missed at least 5 opportunities. So he had a good game, and I really loved the way he approached things. Like, his game plan was top notch, but the execution always just fell a little too short. If you remember the demo trap in here, he never sunk the entire fleet. If he waits 2 more seconds, maybe the longboats just try to go away, and then he can get demo hits in. So he never was able to get those. Viper got some good demo hits. Then there was a hole here the whole time in Feudal and Castle Age. And TaToH had the numbers advantage. Viper had basically no land army. TaToH had like 5 crossbows with ballistics. And he had this open with the fire ships from Feudal. He could have walked in and killed 10 villagers with those crossbows. That never happened, so he never managed to get an advantage over there. And from that point on, it's just Vikings economy taking over you, and Viper was able to use that really well. Secure the middle, and from that point on, it's just a gold trickle. Byzantines won't be shy from playing against a massive amount of gold income with their trash. But obviously, it depends on how much gold advantage your opponent has. And that was not that big, honestly. 20k compared to 18, although I'm not sure if this includes the trickle from the church. So, I would say that the key thing for TaToH was that the fights that he took were always just a little too short. Maybe if, like, there was a moment where he was floating 1,000 food and he was 180 population in this hold. Maybe if he adds a couple of stables back at home, adds some light cover, and comes in to raid this part of Viper's eco, that could have worked. Because his only hope was to hit Viper's food and wood eco, and just basically play as if this was Gold Rush. Try to destroy the opponent's food and wood eco, and then Viper doesn't have anything other than gold to work with. Nonetheless, very, very fun game over here. We're going back into the lobby, and now it's an even-Steven scoreline. TaToH is looking a little bit more convincing here strategy-wise. That's something I will have to give him. So, he had very good ideas in this game as well. Sort of fell due to execution. But if this continues, TaToH might be the favored in this set, because he really has some good ideas from these crazy maps. He's known for being a very smart player and very good on these crazy maps. Speaking of that, we're going to the next map, which is Texcoco. Once again, shout out to the players for not messing around in between games. They are setting those up really rapidly. And we are in for game number 3 on Lake Texcoco, which is the lake where Tenochtitlan is at. If you have played the Montezuma campaign, you should know what I'm talking about. And speaking of that, welcome to Lake Texcoco. Okay, I did mention that this tournament has a lot of crazy / gimmicky maps. First off, you always start with Loom on this map, something that Viper didn't know, because you not only have an Eagle Warrior, but you also have a Siege Tower, which means that you're housed at the beginning. If you're housed at the beginning, you shouldn't start making videos, you should get Loom. Something that TaToH did and Viper did not. That's the reason why... Actually, why is there a villager advantage for Viper? It's so weird. I mean, once Viper gets Loom, it's gonna even out. But you see, 21 seconds TC out time for Viper, 5 seconds for TaToH. So TaToH caught this start a lot better. So here's this Eagle Scout, which is actually an Elite Eagle Warrior model. It only has 4 attack. It's basically a standard Eagle Scout with their movement speed, I believe. It just has the skin of an Elite Eagle Warrior. But this basically is just like a standard Eagle from Dark Age. Now, the other unit that you started is a Siege Tower, and I assume the reason why you started a Siege Tower is because you want to move here in the middle to Tenochtitlan. This is the place that should represent Tenochtitlan from the Montezuma campaign. You see it has 7 relics inside. We have some Jaguars, although they're glowing quite a bit over here. It probably just means they are radioactive because they don't have any special abilities, or so it seems. So, we got some radioactive Jaguars in the middle. Piles of gold are just aesthetics. It's only for the relics over here. Oh yeah, the starting scout can be attacked by Jaguars. I remember reading that. True. So you can just jump through the walls here and walk in here with your Eagle because it's gonna get killed by the Jaguars. Oh, the Jaguars heal. I see. Thanks for the info, everybody. I appreciate it. Looks like Viper will be able to steal 2 sheep from his opponent, and he might even be here to try and block the boar of our red player, TaToH. TaToH's got a beautiful patch of bears at the back, and we are seeing the rare siege tower push. What a wonderful time to be alive. Look at this. The siege tower push from TaToH. I mean, it makes some sense as he's looking around with the Eagle, tries to steal some turkeys, and he will be able to. Viper, I'm not sure if he can regain those because the siege tower might be too slow to do that. So, well, Viper was able to lame 2 turkeys away from his opponent. Looks like TaToH might be able to take 3 here, and he might be heading for the lake and just walk all the way around here. Looks like Viper is looking for that, but this is where you send in your Eagle and start hitting that siege tower. Looks like the siege tower is actually taking quite a lot of damage here, melee-wise. And yeah, that's the mismatch you're looking at. The siege tower is probably best used to push Indy or something that TaToH is doing. Speaking of that, he's Burgundians with quite a lot of villagers on wood, but just now making a dock for himself. There's a dock as well for Viper, already out with 1 fishing ship. Remember, Viper's second overall pick in this draft was Japanese, so he really values this civ a lot. And you see, Viper is gonna have to give up on the turkeys, so... Oh, Viper with the masterpiece! What a play! He knew exactly TaToH was covering the retreat of those turkeys with this Eagle. So he just came in with the Eagle from the other side and took the turkeys back. So in the end, he's gonna have a 2 turkeys advantage because he took 2 from TaToH. Looks like TaToH has given up on the turkey adventure for now, as they're coming all the way around here. One thing I want to check if the middle is revealed, and the answer is that you see the monastery all the time for each player, but that's it. Alright, so what is Viper gonna do? Looks like his siege tower is just chilling over here. First hit landed by Viper's Eagle here. You do have no eco upgrades just yet for TaToH, despite the fact that he's Burgundians. Obviously, here against Japanese with Burgundians, if you want to fight on water, then you would have to go for the early double bid axe, something that TaToH is doing. But I'm not sure if we are going to see a lot of water fighting, because the thing is that you can't sail through the bridges. So these are like 4 separate ponds instead of 1 big pond. The only way that either of these players would be able to attack the opponent's fish is by going for a forward dock, which seems somewhat unlikely. Let's see. Siege tower coming in here. Second dock on the way for Viper, most likely. He is just now grabbing loom. And look at that. Viper sees the Eagle and is like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Meanwhile, for TaToH, he apparently stopped with the siege tower pushes. Feudal age will be timed evenly for the 2 players. And there is Viper with the forward will. So he's the one taking the aggressive approach here. Whereas I'm not 100% sure what TaToH is planning right now. I don't see a forward will or anything like that from him. On the other hand, he could think about land aggression, because you see that the players are not really involved over here. Okay, there is the forward will. And for TaToH, Viper, look at this. He's going for the other pond as well. He's playing this one very similar to 4 lakes, by the way. So, have his own pond, then expand to neutral pond, and simultaneously try to dock drop the opponent's pond. Here comes TaToH though, and TaToH is gonna spot the forward dock on him, as well as drop a dock from the inside in here. Now, here's the deal. Destroying the Japanese fishing eco is much harder than destroying the Burgundian fishing eco. So that's part of the reason why the advantage should still be on the side of Viper. Viper's dock here gets delayed a little bit, but when the Eagle comes in, that should protect the villager for the time being. Also, Japanese in general are just better than Burgundians on water. Alright, villager with a siege tower. Here he goes. I'm not sure what that villager is up to, because there's a couple of Jaguars inside, and I wonder if Viper knows that. No way. Don't tell me Viper's gonna use the siege tower to just escort the villager around. That would be a genius move. If he's afraid of that eagle, he could just use the siege tower to move that villager around. Looks like the villager might still be heading towards the walls though. Come on. This is disgusting. Come on, Viper. You can't do this to people. He's using a siege tower to get the villager close to the opponents, and I think that Viper may not have known about the Jaguars. Viper? Oh, he's getting the monument. No, this is a suicide villager. Okay, never mind. Viper is doing this consciously. I was surprised about this at the beginning, but look at this. He's now getting a trickle of gold. So, controlling the monument actually gives you a trickle of resources. And the reason why Viper decided to suicide a villager is because he was like, okay, TaToH doesn't have anything here in the middle, right? So I can just get that monastery or that monument and get a trickle of gold for myself. TaToH went for a dock on the pawns of Viper as well. Viper going for this pawn over here. It looks like everybody's gonna have a dock on each of these pawns at this pace. So 4 pawns, 4 separate water fights, and let's see if TaToH is gonna do something to take that monastery back. The best thing for him would be to have a scout, because a scout wouldn't be attacked by the Jaguar, I believe. The eagle, like the starting eagle, can be attacked, but that's basically it. Still remember, Viper is getting a very decent trickle of resources from that monument, and you see his food count is already looking pretty strong, because he also has faster working Japanese fishing ships, not only sturdier ones. He's going to slowly lose his fishing eco, but I think he might already be thinking about Castle Legion. Look at this, the demo might actually sink. Never mind. That was the most inefficient demo that I've seen in a long time. It would have been perfect to destroy the fishing ship and the siege tower. And if you destroy the siege tower, TaToH can just do the same thing as Viper did. Dive into the villager, sacrifice a vill, and just go for the monument. Looks like TaToH is not going for the monument just yet. And that means that he's surrendering a pretty considerable resource income that way. TaToH propping out 3 fire galleys in a moment, I believe, as Viper is adding a second dock on his own starting pond. So far we have 5 versus 4 fishing ships, but as I said, Viper is getting close to Castle Age, whereas TaToH is not. As things stand, TaToH is also on berries. Viper is taking the berries with only 2 villagers, getting a market up, and he should be on his way to Castle Age in a moment. TaToH is really far behind. I'm not even sure why he's this much far behind. Probably because his fishing eco was way less efficient at the beginning. Viper quick pulling the villager in, so the scout cannot pick it off. Nice move once again from Viper. And as I said, don't underestimate that gold trickle. It's pretty considerable. I don't think it's as fast as it is for the Rock Church in the previous map. But this is still a pretty considerable resource income for our yellow player, Viper. Alright, Castle Age on the way for Viper. TaToH instead goes for a lot of eco upgrades, and here it is. The Eagle moves in. Now, the Eagle can be attacked by the Jaguars because this is a special Eagle. But the idea here for TaToH is that he's just not gonna sacrifice a villager, he's gonna sacrifice the Eagle to do this. And indeed, now he has the monument. He's still behind in Castle Age timing, and that's going to hurt because Viper will probably just go for fire ships. On the other hand, TaToH is gonna have a better land economy, and I feel like once the fish starts to disappear, TaToH's long-term economy is gonna be better. Viper still has a lot of fish to work with on this pond, and it looks like TaToH is about to push that right now. This pond still has some fish to work with. This pond on the south is running dry now, and so is the starting pond of TaToH. Viper immediately sending a villager after TaToH lost that eagle. I love this. This is what I was talking about. It's better to sacrifice a vill at this point to just, you know, capture that. And the ideal situation for Viper would be to quick wall that villager in right next to the monument. Because that way, TaToH couldn't just send a single military unit and take it back. Once again, Viper has the monument in the middle, but Viper is going to lose this dock and this dock over here. So chances are that even though he's going to get War Galley faster, he will not be able to push the initial fishing eco of TaToH, and possibly not even this lake. You can't wall there. Ah, that explains it. Okay, a lot of gimmicky things on these maps, as I said, and this is the first game I'm seeing on these. So TaToH's on the way to Castle Age as well, but at this point Viper already has fire ships out. No land army whatsoever for Viper. Neither is there any for TaToH, but obviously he's got Boso and Heavy Plow already. So that compensates a little bit for what would be an economy deficit otherwise. For now, Viper is just going to add fishing ships. And now that we get to Castle Age, things change, because if you send a monk there, a monk should not be attacked by jaguars. So you should be able to control the middle. And there is quite a lot of relics as well. Oh, look at this. TaToH is using a fire guy to take down the walls. That's smart. That's very smart. Because the moment you take down the walls, you can just walk in there with more units and just take it. And indeed, that's a very good point on chat, that Viper intentionally collected the jaguars and sort of ran the villager right here to this side, because he wants to make it much more difficult for TaToH to take the monument by having a lot more jaguars over here than on the other side. Still, as I said, I think that TaToH might just play with a monk and just go in and take it. Speaking of that, let's see if Viper is going to do anything similar. He's going to play second town center for the time being. TaToH up to Castle Age. We'll get the fire ship upgrade in a moment. And there is the monastery immediately for TaToH. Speaking of that, Burgundians would also get a food income from the monastery, or from the relics. So having 7 relics could be pretty massive, and it looks like Viper is not contesting those relics. TaToH could easily pick up all 7 relics here, and it's not like Viper can stop it, right? Viper has no army in the middle that can potentially kill a monk, and he can just send a villager to beat it down, because whatever Viper sends will be killed by jaguars, and TaToH should be able to pick that one up. A barracks also comes in, and you see, the fire ship is almost through the walls. Behind this one, Viper has a free eco lead. He's got 8 fishing ships as opposed to only 4 from TaToH. Most of those fishing ships for Viper are on his safe ponds, so it's not possible for TaToH to take those down immediately. And here come the monks. TaToH is not even stopping at 1. He's gonna add 2, and I think he wants to take those relics quickly. He doesn't just want to show the monk just yet. He wants to wait until he's got like 2 or 3 monks and healing the relics immediately. Because, as I said, I think he's scared that once Viper notices what's going on, Viper will react really fast. But it looks like Viper doesn't know that he can burn through the walls. The walls do go down, and there is also a scout. Look at this. This would mean that any military unit that's, you know, infantry or archers or even villagers from Viper can be sniped by that scout over here, and the scout won't be attacked by the jaguars. Fervor coming in pretty fast for TaToH alongside Light Cav, and this is where I feel like, as I said, Viper's gonna have the eco lead fishing wise, but if Burgundians get 7 relics over here plus the monument, that could be enormous. And you see, TaToH is already picking up the relics. Looks like he is attacking a couple of the jaguar here. Not sure what's the motivation behind that. You see their jaguars are healing, by the way. The only thing I dislike about TaToH's decision here is that he's not going for the relics that are furthest away. He should go for these relics first, and this is where Viper realizes that he can break through the walls. You see that? The moment he sees TaToH in the middle, he's like, oh, I can break through the walls? So indeed, it very much seems like TaToH had more time to practice these maps, because he seems to be a lot more well prepared for the situations in these. And you see now, Viper is gonna start scrambling for a chance to get anything from the middle. He's gonna start going for crossbowmen, but that's already a little too late, because chances are that TaToH is gonna be sitting on 7 relics with Burgundians, plus the monument in the middle, plus the fact that he has pretty decent eco upgrades as well. That's an excellent start here for TaToH. So, picking up the relics is TaToH over here, and we're already seeing stone being mined, so I'm starting to wonder if that's going to be straight Custelier, because that would be a tough thing to deal with for Viper. Because even pikemen struggle against Custelier early on, just because Custelier dive in and just do so much damage that most of the pikemen die. But Viper is not shying away from using Japanese cav archers, which, by the way, is pretty well upgraded. I'm not sure if they're fully upgraded, but they are pretty close to that. So, Japanese cav archers is not a bad idea here. And, oh, it's broken through. He used 2 fire ships to break through. There is still 3 more relics here for TaToH to grab. And now there is cav archers in there. TaToH's monks don't have sanctity. They don't have the chance to convert those cav archers now, I believe. TaToH's gonna yoink another relic. And you see, Viper, he is just gonna try to snipe those monks now, I believe. This is why I think it would have been better for TaToH to start with the relics that are further apart. The monks have Fervor, so they can still make a run for it. And I think, like, this relic shouldn't fall into the hands of Viper, especially with the Jaguars chasing down those cav archers. The monk will get sniped, but I mean, at this point, I think TaToH's gonna have enough momentum to pick up the final relic from here. One will probably fall in the hands of Viper. Still, Burgundians will struggle really badly against cav archers. Like, they don't have anything good against that. Aside from early Paladin, though. Because cav archers need a lot of upgrades. And if you look at TaToH, he's imping. That's the Burgundian advantage of getting the early eco upgrades. You get a pretty decent resource income in Castle. And you can go all the way up to Castle Age. You see, a lot of cav archers now for Viper. TaToH is just gonna use that little time he has to yoink the relic. The cav archers will snipe the monk. That's not even a question. But TaToH is gonna secure that relic for himself. That's what matters. And as I said, he's not getting a food trickle from that as well. Let's see what TaToH is up to. He is on 1 stable, already getting Cavalier. And look at what he's doing. It's a pincer move. Stables on the right, stables on the left. Viper is coming in with a castle, and Viper does have amazing Japanese pikemen, but Viper is nowhere close to Imperial. So he's gonna be fighting with Castle Age units against Imperial Age units, and remember that even if Viper goes for pikemen, Burgundians have great hand cannoneer to play around with, and the mobility advantage will be on the side of TaToH as well. I think TaToH just needs to raid Viper to death. Viper is trying to secure the other relic for himself, and he could be on 2 relics. Which is pretty good given the circumstances. He was very much late going to the middle, so coming away with 2 relics as opposed to 5 is still a pretty reasonable value for him. Viper will try to dive in, snipe the monk. I think TaToH's gonna use the siege tower to block this crossing. That's such a TaToH move. What is he doing? Yeah, he just needs to use this siege tower to block this exit. That's all. Will Viper be able to pick up the relic? Very likely. And yes, indeed, he will. But I think TaToH shouldn't worry about that this much now. Obviously, it would have been better for TaToH to be able to secure more relics. But 5 relics with Burgundians, with the food pickle, that's still a pretty decent advantage. And that's going to be Paladin immediately by TaToH. Nice perception to get the Paladin upgrade back home as well. So he can use the forward stables for production, and he can use the one at the back home to get the Paladin upgrade. Viper immediately teching into Pikeman, but you see, he's just not teching into the Feudal Age blacksmith upgrades for pikes. He's not gonna have the mobility. Defensive castle coming in on the right side as well. So now for TaToH, it's all about diving in and killing the eco with the Paladins. That's it. 1 wave of cavalry could shatter Viper's eco so much that Viper wouldn't have the chance to replenish his pikemen. Viper is also on the way to Imperial, by the way, and he's getting a pretty considerable force of cav archers up now. But here come the Cavaliers from pretty much all directions, and this is where Viper's eco could easily fall apart. That's all about it for TaToH. He just gotta run in and kill Vils left and right. And if he does that, Viper won't be able to rebuild his army. So TaToH coming in from multiple directions, and you see that if Viper starts losing Vils here, I don't think that he can actually facilitate a massive spearman production. He's at pikemen, and those are Japanese pikemen with faster attack as well, but he only has +1 defense, +1 attack on those, whereas he's up against +4 defense Cavalier now. Still, TaToH's Cavalier aren't necessarily doing a whole lot of damage. So these are beating up an archer range, these are just running around. So this could be a lot more damage done here by TaToH. I kind of feel like he's throwing away an opportunity here because now Viper is an imp. He might just be waiting for Paladin. That's something I can imagine. And there is hand cannoneers coming in for him with chemistry. Viper, you see, this is what I was talking about. This is why I have to be aggressive here with the cavalry. Just dive in, start killing Wills. Because if you start killing Wills, Viper won't have the resources to get the halberdier upgrade. He won't have the resources for the blacksmith upgrades. And then he doesn't have a defense against this. That's it. Viper is getting Bracer, but you see that those Cav Archers don't have Bloodlines, they don't have Husbandry, they don't even have Thumbring, I believe. So a flood of Paladins here should be enough for TaToH to just keep Viper inside his TCs, and if Viper is inside his TCs, he can get army out to clean this up. Just keep trickling in the heavy cavalry, and you are gonna annihilate Viper's economy. Viper is already down to 91 villagers, and it's gonna be really hard to come back from this position because, as I said, all TaToH needs to do is just keep up the pressure, keep killing Wills, and Viper will never be able to make army. And if he's not making any army, then there is no chance for him to just clean these up ever. You see Viper is down to 87 Wills. TaToH hasn't contested these two pawns just yet. Instead, he's actually going for a forward TC to solidify control over this area. Behind this one, TaToH also sent the Cavalier through the middle, so currently TaToH has the Monument as well, but as I said, Viper scrambling to try and get a stone wall up here. It won't happen. TaToH's economy advantage, faster Imperial, and just the early Paladins materialized really well over here, and with the 3,000 extra gold he's gotten, plus the 3,000 extra food, beating Viper to Imperial and overrunning him with Paladin before Viper could have done anything. 2-1 is the score now. Beautifully played by TaToH, and he needed this because if Viper was allowed to get to a good Cav Archer numbers, then TaToH would have had no chance against that. So he had to be fast, and he was fast. Quick strike back over here by TaToH on Lake Texcoco, and now it's a 2-1 scoreline for TaToH. Match point. So, let's go back to the lobby. They are pretty fast setting up lobbies, so we might not have a lot of time to talk in between games. I'm not sure if the next game has already been launched. Yeah, there's a lobby ID. They are just now setting up the game. The map will be Sacred Glades. So let's see the civilizations remaining. We have the last 3 picks of Viper remaining. Spanish, Italians, Khmer. TaToH still has his second overall pick, Huns, available, and I think that TaToH just wants to play Cav Archers at some point on one of those maps. Berbers is still there for TaToH against the Spanish to counterpick it. I kind of feel like I like the civilizations remaining for TaToH a lot more. Alright, so they are set up with the lobby. The game should start any moment. The loser of this set would be eliminated at a quarterfinal level. He would get $650. The winner would get into the semifinals for a minimum of $12,500. And obviously, the bigger deal is that you would have the winner playing the semifinals. The winner of this set plays against the winner of Hera versus ACCM in the semifinals. So that's probably Hera favored, although you never know, because these maps are so crazy that we could see a lot of upsets in this one. It really could come down to whoever had more time to practice these. Alright, so I'm actually gonna take a look at Sacred Glades here, just so that you see what's up with that map. So where's Sacred Glades at? I think that's one of the more standard looking maps, if I'm not mistaken. So here's how it looks like real quick while we're waiting for the game to launch. It's basically looking like a very, very open map. Has some Atacama vibe to it with that openness. but obviously the wood is a lot more spread out, so you can consider this a super open version of Arabia as well. Viper is gonna choose Khmer for this, which is a pretty reasonable civilization selection. It's a good civ because you can garrison to houses, you have a good farming eco as well. You don't need to make a barracks to make a stable for your scouts. On the other hand, TaToH has Huns for this map, and Huns is a civilization that's gonna beat Khmer from Castle Age on. So once Huns get to Cav Archers, Khmer will struggle against that really badly. But in Feudal Age, I would say I still prefer Khmer. We have a 1 minute spec countdown. Where is that? I'm just gonna show you the countdown over here. Most likely all sets from this tournament, at least, you know, the ones I casted, will be uploaded to YouTube, by the way. So in case you missed something, don't worry, because all of those will go to YouTube as well. Okie dokie. So 20 seconds remaining until Castle Age. What do you think about round robin format for AOE2 tournaments? Elimination brackets have never made sense. Too much time. Round robin takes forever to play. It might be possible for a LAN because on LAN you have all the people at the same place and they're only focusing it. But for online tournaments, pulling off a round robin with more than 4 people is next to impossible. It's a good idea, but it's not feasible. The other thing is that round robins have the possibility of ties. So if you have a round robin setting, you also need to have some sort of tiebreaker criteria, and it's pretty hard to design a good and fair tiebreaker in these. Anyways, welcome to Sacred Glades. You see, you start with a pagan shrine, and this is where we have to mention that this map has a lot of unique features. So let's talk about these. You can have different types of priests being made. You see, this is Blind Lame Priest, and I'm just gonna read the official description on these because I read that yesterday. So, a Blind Lame Priest is trainable from Dark Age in the Pagan Shrine, costs 30 gold, 0 conversion range, very slow walk speed when carrying a relic. So, the reason why you are seeing this is, first of all, neither of the players have Scout to start with. So all they can do is make these blind lame priests and try to lame each other. Get it? Lame priest. It has it in the name. It's a lame priest, so it's gonna try and lame the opponent. And it looks like TaToH will be able to do that. Now Viper, right now he's at 3 priests. Where is that? He's probably looking for relics. He could potentially try and harass the opponent as well. Obviously, as I said, these have 0 conversion range, so I guess they're like melee units when it comes to conversion, and they are just chilling here right now, because they can't decide on who should have the sheep. Oh, TaToH's making a move. TaToH's making a move, and he's bringing the sheep back. Now, here comes the monk, and while, as I said, the conversion range is 0, you can still convert villagers here. This is why the Khmer houses are so good here for Viper. He can jump into houses to avoid conversion, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's jumping back and forth. What a move by Viper. Oh, TaToH's gonna lose 1 priest over here. You can only have 3 of them, because each of them costs 30 gold. So without mining gold, you can go up to 3 priests over here. There is multiple types of priests you can make over here. You can make a healer, which is 60 gold's 0 conversion range and cannot pick up relics, but it's a little stronger. And of course, you can make your standard monk on your monastery. Yeah, by the way, these are the AoE 1 priest models. This is the original guys that started the Vololo things. Anyone remembers how annoying the Vololo sound was in AoE 1? Like, the Vololo is just such an iconic thing for Age of Empires, as we are seeing this priest trying to push in a deer. But it was so annoying in Age of Empires 1. So yeah, this blind lane priest was trying to push in a deer that was unsuccessful. And the question is, I think you can garrison relics inside the pagan shrine. At the end of the day, we are ending this Dark Age with one monk killed, or one priest killed from TaToH. TaToH's at still 50 gold, because he did mine 10 gold, so that he can actually get Loom later on. Whereas for Viper, he's made 3 priests over here, and now he's coming in with the Monk Rush himself. This is why Khmer is so good here. This house bonus is in general very good in open maps, but it's about being able to jump into houses when the monks come in to convert you. And you see, this is why TaToH has preemptive Dark Age walls here. Because if the monks just come in and don't have these walled, they would just come in and convert you. They have 0 range, so they are basically like a militia that can convert, sort of. It can convert from close range, but you see, now that the walls are up, it's just not possible. So that's why the monks are wandering around trying to find a villager to convert. Feudal Age on the way much faster though for TaToH. Viper is not even close. Or is he? He's gonna have the food dropped off from a board, so his food count is a little misleading, but TaToH's gonna have a considerable advantage into Feudal Age, and yeah, Viper cannot click up. That's because Viper is mining gold. Uh-oh, I think Viper could be in trouble here. Because while Viper is going for the Monk Rush over here, and it's gonna be annoying for TaToH, Viper or TaToH just needs a couple of villagers on wood, and if he gets one scout out, all of these guys die. Meanwhile, monks are just still scouting around for TaToH. Viper clicks up, but he's 1 minute behind compared to his opponent. There is the barracks on the way. Villagers here are actually stuck because of those walls, so TaToH's gonna have to replace them. 4 monks right now for Viper. TaToH's gonna be late on wood, so I'm not 100% sure he can afford the stable immediately. It's gonna be a little tight for him. Got delayed quite a bit. And now the monks are chasing. Oh, nope, they still can't access that villager. They still can't access, but I appreciate the effort of this Dark Age Monk Rush. Oh yeah, the archer would be a better option, true. Although, the scouts should have a bonus damage against the monks, right? I understand the concept of saying, hey, archers would be better at picking off monks because these have 0 range. On the other hand, currently TaToH doesn't have gold control, so he couldn't really make archers, he can only make skirms. And it might just be better to have 3 scouts, and the scouts should still have a bonus damage against priests, plus these guys only have 25 HP. If the scouts do have their bonus damage just like they do against monks, then 2 or 3 scouts should be able to clean this up. Nonetheless, scouts are coming in as well for Viper. Interestingly, he's adding a barracks as well with Khmer. That's not something that you frequently see unless you want to add militia or spearmen yourself. Usually Khmer just goes straight stable, but you know, if you want to add some spears yourself, then it makes some sense to go for your own barracks. For now, TaToH is chopping wood over here, and it looks like he's walking all the way back to the TC, so his eco is not as efficient as it is for Viper. That's something that we have to give Viper, who, by the way, has skipped Loom to go up to Feudal Age. TaToH did not do that, and here come the scouts. Let's see. Yeah, they do have bonus damage, and you see, boom, 2, 3, 4, perfect fight for TaToH. He actually got 1 hit on his scout from the spearman, so it wasn't crystal clear, but it was still a very, very good fight by TaToH. Now, make no mistake, TaToH's probably gonna lose his own monks as well here, so I don't think that's gonna give him any benefit for now. And from this point on, it very much seems like we're just gonna have scout wars. So, a very standard gameplay from both parties. TaToH is not making any more scouts right now. He's a little low on food. On the other hand, Viper obviously has houses here to jump into in case he gets raided. So, house over here, house over here. I really like Viper's house placement. It's gonna be pretty much an unraidable eco for him. Now, for TaToH, he doesn't need to necessarily do a lot of damage here. first villager gets picked off. Beautiful move from TaToH to block the villager's escape path so the villager cannot jump into the house. 2 villagers went down from Viper. And as things stand, Viper is apparently not having enough food to make scouts. Viper is on 2 scouts, but that's it. This is match point, by the way. And I think the difference maker here is TaToH going for a hunt. Those actually give him a bit of an extra food, and that allows him to get a couple more scouts out. This is why he had the scout number advantage, and this is why he was able to take down 2 villagers over here. Viper actually finds 2 unscouted sheep from TaToH, so Viper's gonna get those, as spearmen are being added by TaToH to hold the lumberjacks. A second patch of berries was also taken by TaToH over here, so while his food eco farming-wise isn't necessarily that well developed, he doesn't have horse color, whereas his opponent does, he does have extra berries to work with, and he managed to pick off 2 wills from his opponent, plus Viper also had more TC idle time, so at the end of the day, that's already sort of a 3.5 villagers advantage. Anyways, now if you look at the 2 players, I think TaToH has the advantage, and the reason why this is so bad for Viper is because once we get to Castle Age, Huns are light years ahead compared to the Khmer. So the Khmer have to win the game pretty much in Feudal Age, or at least carve out a pretty considerable lead. If this is at minimum an even game going into Castle Age, Huns will just go Cav Archers and win the game that way. Scout War in the middle, it's gonna be an even trade of Scouts and an even trade of Spearmen on the left side as well. Spearman comes in here from Viper, that's gonna force TaToH back for the time being. Still, 4 villagers advantage right now for TaToH. He does have Horse Color Bidax, no wheelbarrow for either parties. And there is already an archer range being added, so TaToH's not gonna wait until Castle Age to go for a couple of archers. He's gonna start adding a few right now to pick off the spearmen. As long as Viper doesn't have +1 defense or bloodlines on his scouts, speaking of bloodlines, he's getting that right now. It should be still pretty decent for TaToH to add archers, but after that, he's gonna need his own bloodlines. By the way, TaToH's got a scout here that's pretty low in HP. He could just use that to scout around a little bit more. Or alternatively, he could get a healer. I think you can get that healer out in Feudal already. I'm not sure if the blind lame priest can actually heal. But nonetheless, there might be a possibility to heal these units in Feudal. Spearman rush coming in here. On the berries, a single archer should have no trouble cleaning that one up. Viper now has bloodlines though, and that's the perfect moment to jump on a wood line. TaToH's wood line here is very exposed. Luckily for TaToH, Viper is gonna hit the gold mine. But TaToH, I don't think that he's noticing that those scouts have bloodlines because he's fighting back. Yeah, he should just run. He's gonna lose 2 villagers over here. That's not a smart decision by TaToH. That's not a smart decision at all. Does he not know that these scouts have bloodlines? That's a massive blunder from him, losing 3 villagers there. He's gonna need to compensate for that now. That's a massive, massive mistake here from him, and he keeps losing stuff. This is why I never like archer switches in Atacama-like maps, because I kind of feel like the power unit in Feudal Age is scouts with bloodlines and +1 defense ideally. Let's see if TaToH can retaliate for that, because now Viper is double stable scouts, and I feel like TaToH is doing a bit of a throw here with that archer move now. He just needs to go for more scouts here, or alternatively, he just needs to make a couple of spearmen to hold this one. TaToH's eco is not getting torn apart. He's somehow trying to get up to Castle Age. If TaToH gets up to Castle Age here and gets like 5 CA out, I think he has this. But that's a big if, because currently there is not much that he can do against the scouts raids aside from raiding himself. He picks off a villager from Viper over here. Viper right now is at 13 scouts, and that fletching is a crucial mistake by TaToH. No. Fletching should never be considered here. You see that Viper is already tearing you apart with the mobility of the scouts. You see a huge amount of scouts that will soon have +1 defense. Never fletching here. You can't mess enough archers to have good fights over here, and you're delaying your Castle Age severely. I think that fletching might lose the game here for TaToH. He was already in a pretty bad spot, I believe, but his hope was to get up to Castle Age to CA. Because archer play in Atacama is just bad as it is, even if it's supported by this many spearmen. Viper needs like 2 or 3 skirmishers to deal with that, or potentially you could just jump this with that many scouts. With bloodlines and +1 defense, he's coming in here with the scouts, and he's gonna hit the gold mine. TaToH has a lot of spears back at home, and the wood line is secure for the time being. But Viper can just jump back into the houses to avoid getting raided, whereas that's not the case here for TaToH. And as I said, those scouts are fully upgraded. The spearmen do have scale mails. It looks like Viper will not commit against this one for now. Viper once again jumping back into the house over here. But now Viper is the one that has the advantage going into Castle Age with the resources, you see. Viper, I think for now he's just massing scouts. He wants to take one decisive fight here and just shatter that army. And that's why those archers are just a mistake, I think, from TaToH. They will get cleaned up. I don't think I've ever seen a player winning with archers in such a situation on Atacama. And this map is quite similar to Atacama with its openness. So you see, Viper with just mass scouts here, he should be able to overrun TaToH. And this is only now when TaToH is reacting to this entire play, going for bloodlines and forging, but it's way too late. He invested a lot of resources into fletching, he's invested into archers, and now he's going for bloodlines, whereas his opponent is already on the way to Castle Age. I think TaToH's strategy choice here was just very underwhelming. And he's gonna lose this entire army just like he lost the first one, because it doesn't have anything that deals with +1/+1 bloodline scouts. Viper, on the other hand, is gonna go for triple stable knights. That's quite a few spearmen out there, but at this point it's about the Castle Age timing. Quick walls are in. That's the only hope TaToH can have. That his quick walls on the wood lines will try to save him, although Viper has enough scouts to just try committing against the TC and just raid the opponent's food eco to death and pretty much make TaToH get stuck in Feudal Age. Like, the moment one player has bloodlines on the scouts, spearmen archers should never be a consideration, because bloodlines give you such a massive boost, especially once +1 defense comes in. Archers are just too pricey and take too much time to mass compared to scouts with +1 and bloodlines. Before bloodlines, archers can work really nicely, but after that, it's just not a thing. And Viper will probably get the light cav upgrade because he's got a huge amount of scouts out there. You see, TaToH is nowhere close to Castle Age. He's going for a second barracks. I don't think it's happening for TaToH. Like, the villager KD is even. It's about how far you are to Castle Age. And now TaToH is going to be forever stuck in Feudal. He's going to have to start spamming spearmen to deal with the heavy cavalry. Looks like he's selling some stone. I think he needs to sell the other 100 stone as well. He needs to click up ASAP. He might be able to bridge through this 2 minutes gap with just mass spearmen. Try to hold this. But that's his best bet, I think. He's trying to get up to Castle Age. If he gets to Castle, there's still a small hope, because cav archers are still scary. Although Viper's getting light cav out, he's getting knights out, and he's getting Khmer scorpions. And this is the exact situation Huns need to avoid. Huns need to avoid getting overrun by cavalry. And that's something that TaToH was unable to do. Partly because he went for food archers. No. This is still a scout map entirely. Anyways, TaToH is now going for mass spearman, in fact. But, I mean, those light cav now have +1/+2. Khmer are very proficient at spamming light cavalry. Knights are being sent around to try and hit the berries. There is no overchop here for TaToH just yet. Triple barracks spearman, though, is just pure desperation, I believe. And once the single Khmer scorpion arrives here, TaToH won't be able to hold this. I think I said this a couple of times before. I think going for archers here was just a crucial mistake. Now, he might be able to get some raiding damage in here, but this is mostly spearmen, only a couple of archers. And as I said, Viper can jump into houses. So, the other big problem that TaToH is facing is that even if he gets up to Castle Age, he's only spearman. That's actually a nice move with the quick gate. Try to escape to the left with the villagers. Spearmen are out here in pretty decent quantities. Villagers garrison the TC, but spearmen can't hold this forever, and I feel like TaToH is just losing his entire mass of spearmen, and Viper has enough to dive beneath TCs. Viper needs to do the exact same thing that TaToH did to him in the previous game. And once again, we're seeing that on very open maps, archers in 95% of the cases just don't work. That's the thing. Takes too much time to mass, very expensive, potentially delays your castle age, and Bloodline scouts will eat them for breakfast, even with Spearman support. So, 2-2. I think I love the Khmer civilization selection for Viper and how he used it. Personally, if I had to play this map, I would probably go for Khmer myself, because you would have this house bonus, which is still underrated. You see, the reason why this army couldn't do anything against Viper is because there is houses. So yes, Viper lost 1 or 2 villas in Feudal, but that's not the end of the world. After that, he just needs to overrun the Hunnic player. And the Hunnic Civ pick was also great here. It's just, as I said, the win condition is that Khmer have to win this before Huns get to Cav Archers. And Viper did just that. Alright, going back into the lobby here, we are in for a decider game. It's a fitting for this set. Very, very good matchup and very fun series so far. So Huns and Khmer are gone, and now we're left with Berbers, Britons versus Spanish and Italians. Okay, so what do we think here? I guess it depends on the map. I'll have to check which map we're playing. Hold on. It should be Yam Suf, right? I'm not 100% sure, but if it is, then... Nope, it's Sacred Glades yet in the lobby, but I think it should be Yam Suf. Vikings and Byzantines are wrong-sided? Wait a minute. No, they weren't. Oh, you mean the wins-losses. True. You're absolutely right. Vikings and Byzantines are flipped over there. Boom. Yeah, I get it now. I didn't realize that. Should be fixed now. Okay, so we don't know the map just yet, but as far as I know, we're only playing a map pool of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 maps. And we only had 1 ban each player, so I'm gonna assume that we're basically gonna have 1 ban from each and then just play the rest of the maps, right? It's interesting because the qualifiers had very different maps. So the qualifiers had Graveyards, Holy Atacama, Holy Kavasan, Holy Land Madness, and Holy Nomad. So standard maps with some gimmick. Whereas for the main event, we only have special maps here. Keep in mind that this is going to be TaToH's selection, or at least whatever is left for him, but in theory this should be TaToH's selection. And indeed we're going to Yam Suf, which is a very, very stalemate heavy map, and I feel like it should be Italians versus Berbers, because I'm not sure what Britons can do on such a water heavy map. Alright, let's see if the game is up or not. Yeah, Viper is AFK for the time being, and we got Credon with the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. And congrats to everybody that received one. Alright, so game should start... in a matter of moments. Alright. Indeed, game is on, so Yam Suf it shall be. Not sure where this map got its name from, so I'm just gonna read the official intro to the map. Maybe it tells us something about the map. It's actually made by Hank. Hank was around the chat previously. Yam Suf is a body of water which the Israelites crossed following the exodus from Egypt. Oh, I remember this. I remember people talking about this one. I didn't know that this map got into the final map pool. This is like Moses splitting the sea. A priest, Moses, will lead your peoples who are seeing the burning bramble bush devoted themselves to the prophet. That's a hard description. I'm just reading out what Hank wrote about the map. Players will have to build a town center and establish a settlement to prepare their exodus through the Red Sea. Even though players have no starting TC, the 5 extra villagers to speed up the pace of the game, and access to fish will be an early thing to contest. So you will start with 5 extra villas. You start with a combined number of 8 for each player. Alright, so decider game over here, and we have a Spanish versus Britons matchup. That's even more interesting, I would say. So this map is pretty water heavy. Spanish makes some sense because it's nomad start. Not sure what to think about Britons here for TaToH. I'm a little bit puzzled about that. Especially because he has Berbers available, which would have been a good civ for water, and it would have been a good civ against Spanish as well. Maybe he wanted to be, you know, unexpected and surprise his opponent, but we'll see about that one. So welcome to Yamsuf over here. You see, you start with a little hut, you start with 8 vills, and a lot of sheep as well. So TaToH already possesses 8 sheep to start with. For Viper, that's going to be only 4, it seems. Okay, there is the other set free, so he should be all fine. Viper dropping TC on the left side of the Red Sea, and on the right we'll have TaToH. There is a blind name priest here, but that's pretty much trying to represent Moses as he's splitting the Red Sea. Players also start with a camel to scout around, and TaToH immediately going for a dock here. Now, not sure what to make out of that dock, because keep in mind that he won't be able to afford a fishing ship immediately, but since you start with some extra vills, you might be able to get the wood you need pretty fast, and even if you are not making a fishing ship immediately, you're gonna have a villager that's gathering shorefish, so there is some extra food income from there. Meanwhile, on the other side, Viper is starting off with Loom, which is a little surprising. Maybe he was close to getting housed. That's the only reason why I can imagine Loom being researched here. Anyways, I think Viper's TC spot is a little bit better. He's close to 2 patches of berry, right next to a boar, and of course close to a woodline. Whereas for TaToH, he is pretty far off from this gold mine, which is something I don't like, as he did block that boar for a brief moment to try and minimize the damage on his villager. You will see that he's already queuing up fishing ships. Viper already has 1 fishing ship out as well. So ecos are pretty similar for now. Question chat. Can this landmass be sailed? I assume you cannot, but you never know. Is this like running sand, like on Crater Lake and stuff like that? Okay, so it cannot be sailed. I was expecting that as well. That would be the logical thing, but I mean, I have seen some crazy things in Age of Empires. So, if it cannot be sailed, then the key concept is that you're gonna have the 2 players on the same pond. There is some water elevation right here at the edge, so you can maybe try to get some hill advantage here if you micro really heavily. But this should be a little bit like, you know, standard hybrid map opening here, players fighting for water on this side. Alright, so for Viper, he had a house foundation here, but I think he cancelled it because he probably wants to make a mill on this side and didn't want that house foundation to mess up his future farm placement. So, for the time being, we are gonna have 3 fishing ships for Viper, 4 only for TaToH. I was thinking about Britons, and now I'm starting to realize that Britons could give you an advantage that I haven't thought about just yet. And that's cheaper town centers. I'm not 100% sure if that applies to the starting town center in Nomad, though. Spanish obviously build it faster, plus TaToH or Viper is right next to stone. So you could possibly have, you know, a chance to go Conquistadors right away. Okay, so the British cheap TCs are starting Castle Age. then I'm a little surprised about Britons, because I'm not sure what to make out of that. They have the sheep gathering bonus, which is pretty nice, but that's basically it. I feel like everything else would have been better for Berbers. Look at that. Viper is actually coming in here with the blind lane priest, trying to convert that villager, but the villager is walled in. Yeah, it's possible he was expecting Italians, but I mean, it wasn't obvious it's gonna be Italians, right? So you either have Italians or Spanish. Both of those are reasonable. Spanish for conks, Italians for late game and water play. And I think Italians make a little bit more sense over here because the crossing can be a little stalematey, I agree. So because of that, Italians make more sense. Italians are amazing when you have a slow-moving army and you just have to grind your opponent down. And that's exactly what could happen on this map if this ends up being a stalemate. Right, second dog coming in here for both Viper and TaToH here. TaToH actually is a couple of seconds behind compared to Viper into Castle Age or into Feudal Age, but that's basically it for him. So, TaToH's up to Feudal, and so is Viper. The Camel of TaToH actually eats a lot of damage here from Viper, as the Monk is still around. Fire Galley is on the way for Viper, and we will have 2 dogs as well from TaToH in red for Fire Galleys. No one is contesting the right side of the sea right now. So as things stand, this is gonna be sort of micro wars, execution-based combat, and that's something that favors Viper. We have seen that in the games where it comes down to execution and standard gameplay, he performed better. So the previous game, then his first home map. So whenever it was nothing super gimmicky, that's something where Viper excelled in a lot more. TaToH specialized in these unique situations, and this is currently not a unique situation, it's just standard Fire Galley war. So, triple docks now for Viper. TaToH is still only on 2, so there's a pretty considerable chance that Viper is going to start outnumbering TaToH in terms of Fire Galley numbers, and the Monk is now chasing this villager over here. I wonder if TaToH wanted to drop a dock on this side and start fish booming there. And while the blind Monk has a range of 0, that was still a pretty far away conversion. Whoa, I'm not sure if it's supposed to work that way. The villager was running away, yet it still got converted. So Viper actually gets a conversion here in Feudal, and that's gonna be annoying because now this villager could do shenanigans like forward archer range and stuff like that. Meanwhile, TaToH's fire ships were also freaking out. They were patrolling but not fighting. So Viper seems to be winning water now, and I feel like things are falling apart here for TaToH. As I said, he's losing the water already, and it looks like he's just gonna send the villager back for the time being. 1 extra vill is nothing to be ashamed of. Currently, Viper is at 4 Fire Galleys, 1 demo, and on the other side, it's only 2 Fire Galleys for TaToH. Maybe 0 range when the conversion starts and the conversion continues if the unit runs away. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure how this mechanic works. Nonetheless, TaToH has a pretty decent amount of food in the bank and he's making archers, so that's why. So, he's ready to bail out on water. Just tries to get the maximum he can out of his fishing eco. And tries to go for an archer push. Now, the problem here is that Viper's base is very well defended. So you see, his wood lines are impossible to push. The best place where you can attack it is probably the gold mine, as TaToH is about to start losing his fishing eco. He will try to drag this out as much as possible, sort of just get as much food as he can from his fish. And you see he might even relocate them to the right side. The right side only has a shorefish to work with, but it's still better to get a shorefish than to just lose your fishing ships, right? Viper now has the water, and that villager that converted is now picked off. So even Steven villager count, and Viper, as I said, he's not killing the fishing ships. That's what matters here. TaToH lost the water, yet he's still getting food income. And look at TaToH. He's using the camel to try and block the wall foundations. He also used the sheep to do that. Viper, on the other hand, might not be able to plug that hole in, or is he? Viper just able to plug the hole in. I think there is still a hole here in between the barracks and the palisade, though. I am fairly certain there is. Right? Or is there some reeds out there? Viper is gonna wall this off. TaToH on the way to Castle Age, though he's just now losing the fishing eco. I think TaToH managed to keep that fishing eco alive longer than expected. So I think that's actually a win for him. Because Viper invested a lot more into the water, and this is the first time that he's going to start gaining any benefit from that water. And behind this one, TaToH is already coming in with archers. He's gonna make another dock on this side. The priest gets picked off. So TaToH is gonna still add some fishing eco to try and make sure he's not falling behind Viper. And when he's gonna have some crossbows out, that's gonna be hard to deal with for Italians. Skirm defense for now for Viper. Keep in mind that in the long run, the Britons are a very good defensive civilization, so it's gonna be really hard for Viper to attack Britons here. Plus, TaToH could easily afford additional town centers starting Castle Age. Some more archers coming in here to reinforce. Skirms are already in, but there is fletching just now coming in for Viper, fletching as well for TaToH. Crossbowmen should be on the way the moment TaToH reaches Castle Age here. Yeah, Viper is gonna be able to play with cannon galleons late game, that's absolutely true, but that's very, very far right now. TaToH indeed selling some stone, but I think he can just buy it back. I can see the reason behind selling stone, clicking up to Castle Age so that you get the crossbows as soon as possible, and then buying the stone back. That makes some sense. Viper has a hole at the top? Indeed he does. That's a mistake from Viper, and a mistake that TaToH did not exploit. There is indeed a hole here for Viper that he did not plug in. The archers will fight this right now, despite the fact that they don't have any Castle Age upgrades. No botkin even for TaToH. He just has the extra range thanks to being Britons. But Viper is just now clicking up to Castle Age. So Viper is quite a bit behind here. And while TaToH did lose his docks over here, so he won't be able to reclaim the water, the chance to walk into Viper's base is still there. And let's see if TaToH notices that. I think he might, and there is no villager close by here for Viper to wall that. Is TaToH gonna notice this? All he needs to do is right-click inside the base of Viper, and the crossbows will find a way. Forward Siege Workshop on the way for TaToH. Remember, Viper is in Feudal so he doesn't have any mangonels of his own to defend against this one with contingency walls for Viper right now. He still doesn't know this is open, and he's very lucky that TaToH is not punishing him for this hole. Remember the Starfighter game? Is the same scenario. TaToH has an opportunity, and that opportunity is sort of being wasted here. I'm not blaming him for it because sometimes you just don't think that there is a hole there. I think he's just now realizing, but it might be too late because now there's villagers here to get a house up. And yeah, Viper realized. Viper realized he's gonna get a stone wall up there. He will lose 2 wills, but he's going to avoid crisis. This was an opportunity lost here for TaToH, and if he loses this game, he's gonna look at this moment and say, oh shoot, I had a chance here. Nonetheless, TaToH has fishing eco on the right side. He's for now 1 TCs. There's already forward siege workshop, but no mangonels coming out, and I feel like TaToH just didn't get anything out of this fast Castle Age here. He even prioritized ballistics over making a mangonel, which I don't like. He still has some crossbows coming in, but now it's defensive skirmishers, defensive mangonels, and Viper is on stone as well, so defensive castle is not impossible. I feel like this is opportunity wasted here for TaToH. Alright. So, as things stand, Viper has a pretty considerable navy on the left side. He's even going for War Galley because he managed to sneak a dock up on the right-hand side pond. Ooh. Nice idea, and he could easily get these fishing ships killed. TaToH's eco is currently even compared to Viper's one, but that will soon change. The bad news for Viper is that his TC is gonna be under fire, so he's gonna be on the back foot a little bit, and TaToH's adding a second TC right now. TaToH wasn't expecting the fire ship push over here, and he's gonna lose his fishing eco. Mangonel pops out for Viper, takes down TaToH, and once again, this is just such a deja vu compared to the Starfighter game. That TaToH might even have the better strategy. It's just the execution is just falling apart for him from time to time, and he's missing opportunities that will pile up eventually, and Viper is taking small victory after small victory. The win on this pond, the win on this pond, now that Mangonel being taken down. So really, Viper is slowly grinding down TaToH over here. One by one, TaToH's units are being picked off, and slowly Viper is building up a lead, 49 eco to 44 now. Alright, there is gonna be 3 TCs though for our red players, so we shouldn't overlook that one. Second TC coming in just now for Viper. And it looks like TaToH still has a dock up here, so technically he could fight back on this one, although it would be pretty embarrassing to lose a villager to fire ships here. 2 Mangonels now on the way for TaToH. Viper has 2 as well. Viper is also keeping the skirmishers garrisoned inside the town center so he can heal them up. That's a very nice touch for Viper here. And now it's pretty much impossible for TaToH to push this side. Viper is making a university here. He's getting ballistics himself for his own skirmishers. 3rd Mangonel on the way for TaToH. Viper is still 7 on stone, so it's very possible, as I said, that we'll see a defensive castle in the next couple of minutes, and that should stop everything. Keep in mind that Italians can get to Imperial a lot easier than Britons can do, so an early Imperial here is on the menu for Italians. Beautiful ground attack by Viper. Another Mangonel gets taken down, and Viper takes the shot, misses this one. The Repair Villager for Viper is still alive. Mangonel Dance coming in. Repair Villager went down for Viper. Mangonels are still alive. Beautiful micro there by both sides. Mangonel coming close here for TaToH. He could unpop it and just take a shot on the Mangonel immediately to take it down. Oh, Viper is actually Spanish. I messed it up. I think I said Italians. Yeah, Viper is Spanish, I realized. It's the same architecture, and Italians is his other civ. So I thought he's playing Italians. Never mind. He's actually playing Spanish. Anyways, Repair Villager for TaToH is gone, and this is what I was talking about. The small victories for Viper. That's 2 more Mangonels going down. At least TaToH was able to trade it off to 1 here, but Viper is holding this. Viper is still 3 villagers ahead. So, at this point, TaToH wasn't able to do any damage military-wise. Ecos are dead even. TaToH is falling behind in this one really badly. At 1000 score lead tells a lot. Most of that comes from the KD, but it's pretty descriptive of what has happened so far. Mangonel is out here for TaToH, though, gets some nice hits in, and he's about to even out that KD. Mangonel takes the shot, misses the target. Same thing here. Viper is going to try to body block the movement of that Mangonel with his own skirmishers. As the skirms slowly get cleaned up. TaToH takes the shot, deletes the Mangonel even, I believe, to try and get that Mangonel down, but that was unsuccessful. So, as I said, if TaToH loses this game, he's gonna look back at that moment where he didn't look for that hole earlier as an opportunity lost. Because now I feel like Viper is taking over, and this is why this map wasn't really suitable for TaToH. This is too standard for his playstyle. The maps that he won them with strategy. And that's not something that matters. Well, it obviously matters on this map, but this map is also about execution, especially if it comes down to Mangonel wars, like it's happening right now. TaToH's starting to send villagers on stone. Beautiful ground attack here by Viper once again. Beautiful, beautiful ground attack. And now I think it's Viper all over the place. Viper's got the fishing eco here on both pawns. That's the reason why he is still pulling ahead compared to TaToH. 84 population and 74. TaToH is now on 4 TCs. Whereas on the other side, we only have 3 TCs for Viper, but in exchange he's got multiple docks to work with. And I think that Monastery is gonna be there to pick up some relics for him. He's got, I think, 2 relics on his side. How many relics do we have even? Let me check. Is it possible we only have 2 relics on this map? I don't see a lot of them. Viper is gonna have 1 for sure. There's already Monastery. Mangonel from TaToH falling all the way back. There is a random mangonel from Viper pushing up here. That's gonna be short-lived. And a stable. Now, a stable is a pretty alarming sign for Britons, as TaToH is getting close to Imperial. There is still a pretty decent chance here for TaToH, because, like, Briton Arbs, with the extra range, they would still perform really well against the Spanish, especially if TaToH can nail a better Imperial timing compared to his opponent. But since he's getting scale barding in, looks like that Imperial Age is not gonna happen anytime soon. He's just gonna queue up some more vills. A single knight is fine here to deal with that mangonel. A knight coming in here from Viper as well. TaToH tries to convert, and that's not going to be successful. Mangonel gets a successful ground attack in on TaToH's knight. TaToH trying to take that mangonel down. He will be able to finish it off. The monk gets picked off by the skirmishers, however, so that allows Viper's knight to dive in, try and snipe the mangonel. TaToH reacts by sending 2 repair villagers. The mangonel should survive because the monk is there to scare away the knight, let alone convert it. Nope, no doubt set today so far. This is the first set of the day, so it is now 3 knights for TaToH, but Viper, he's getting close to Imperial. In fact, he has just now clicked up. He's using this TC to Imp, which is a little risky, although chances are that TaToH can destroy it. Probably would have been better to use this TC in the end, but I don't think it's gonna matter that much for Viper. What's more important is that TaToH is thinking about Imperial as well. And now, what is Viper gonna do? Because one thing that Viper doesn't have is an army that's ready to be amassed. He has 1 stable, 1 range, only upgrades for the skirmisher line. Whereas for TaToH, he obviously wants to go archers here with Britons. Although he might need to play archer and halberdier eventually, because he's gonna encounter cavalry most likely. But he's got the upgrades already for his archer line. And he's also getting stone for a castle. A castle here would be pretty nice. And then you could get Yeoman as well for your crossbows for the time being. Keep in mind that TaToH doesn't have water control. TaToH is trying to redock. Now, Viper might spot that, but I don't think that he can stop this. Viper is actually taking into light cav. Ooh, interesting idea. So, Viper is playing the long game here, and by long game, I mean very long. So he's basically going for trash units entirely. And the reason why is because he knows exactly that he just needs to grind down the gold units of his opponent. Now, what I dislike about that is that if TaToH just adds a couple of pikemen, he's still gonna be good. And Halberdier plus Arbalest here is still gonna be a better unit composition than just, you know, light cavalry here. Husbandry coming in. A Conquistador also is added to the party. Now, 2 castles up for Viper. There's no way to break through here for TaToH. Instead, he's gonna start redocking here, going for War Galley upgrade. Question: do Britons even have fast fires? I don't think they do. So they would have to play Galleon here, right? Viper is going for shipwright, so he's coming in for the naval combat as well. TaToH isn't redocking the left side for the time being. Instead, he starts to stonewall himself. And have I mentioned that this map could easily end up being very, very stalematey? That's exactly what we're seeing here. Mangonel gets a reasonable shot in there. Skirms pushing through the middle. Those skirmishers should be easily destroyed by the knights of TaToH. Looks like Viper is just gonna play full water here. Whereas for TaToH, he is going to start adding arbalests, aside from his fire ships. I don't think they have fast fires, right? Britons shouldn't. Spanish have fast fires, that's for sure. By the way, Spanish have cannon galleons with the faster projectile. Remember that, they look pretty fancy. Yes, now we have Arbs in here. Yeah, Spanish cannon gun is beautiful. It's just great. Okay, there is fast fire for Britons. You learn something every day. I never knew that Britons had fast fires, and now this is a problem for Viper. He's trying to go for War Galleys, but I mean, he could easily get overrun by fast fires. He can make demos, but that's gonna take some time, and those fast fires could easily overrun him. Alright, defensive towers. Ooh, I like that for Viper. So he's like, okay, I don't have the ships right now to fight your fast fires. So what I'm gonna do is get heated shot and use defensive towers to hold that. It's right now watchtower only, but I would expect a guard tower upgrade from Viper soon. On the left-hand side pond, it's still pretty peaceful, nothing serious happening right now. But the Arbalests are slowly pushing up, and that's another thing that Viper has to be mindful about. That Britons could easily push up here with Arbs and Trebs. Monks are getting picked off. The Arbs have the range to just pick off the skirms from a distance, so they shouldn't take that many losses. Heavy demo is now on the way for Viper. The good news for Spanish is that Spanish cannon galleons can take down the Trebs very easily. They dive in, take some shots, and dive out. That's pretty much it. Also chain botting for TaToH. He's gonna add some light cavalry to deal with the skirmishers. One of the gold mines for Viper, by the way, is pretty exposed here on the front. So if TaToH can keep pressure on that, that would mean a gold advantage for TaToH. Some light cav are coming in. The light cav are missing +4 defense. These Arbs have Yeoman and ballistics, so they should be able to pick it off pretty easily. Supremacy for Viper, interesting. That's not necessarily an upgrade I would associate with this map. I mean, it makes your villagers sturdier, that's for sure, but is that impactful? Is it worth the gold that you invest into it? It's somewhat doubtful. Defensive castle for TaToH on the right side for the time being. Shipwright on the way as well for a red player. So far, I kind of feel like TaToH stalled out here a little bit, and he isn't really being decisive on what to do, whereas that gives Viper time to amass the galleons. He's already at a pretty decent galley numbers. By the way, this is a historical matchup. We do have the Spanish Armada versus the Britons, something that has happened in history. Alright, now some skirms coming in here for Viper. He's increasing heavily in skirm numbers, and it's gonna be a little bit difficult for Britons to deal with that, because you would probably prefer onagers, but then Spanish can add bombard cannons, so this could be increasingly troublesome for the Britons as the skirm numbers increase. Alright, so plate mail on the way. Looks like it's just gonna be light cap from TaToH, who's housed pretty heavily. In general, he's pop capped. He has a pretty massive eco behind this one, and now he's jumping on the warships over here. I don't see any kind of effort towards cannon galleons from either side just yet. Whereas for Viper, he's getting guilds, which is a very good upgrade here. Being able to sell your resources at a discount rate, or better rate, is actually very valuable on a map that's going to run out of gold eventually. The light cav do get cleaned up, and this is actually a great fight for TaToH. Takes down a lot of those skirmishers escaping, took down a lot of the light cav, and this is why Britain's crossbows or ARPs can be so good here. Britons are very good when it comes to defending a certain choke point, and that's exactly what TaToH is building on. Just use that range advantage, pick apart any kind of unit that tries to get close to your base. Viper does have a transport ship somewhere. I think he might try to land over here. Or is it the other side? It's the other side. Is he gonna make a run for it? He's making a run for it. TaToH's ships are noticing it. TaToH has ballistics. Oh, the war galley isn't noticing it. It gets through. Whoa, this could be a massive mistake by TaToH. Now, these villagers have supremacy, so it's gonna be pretty hard to clean them up. The war galleys should still be able to deal with them, especially if there's a couple of light cavs. But once again, one of the galleons for TaToH did not fire in time. Those villagers could have been killed a lot easier, and now it's going to be a distraction for TaToH. That's the big deal here, and you see Viper is sending them to a corner. He's gonna try to quick wall them in and just make sure that he makes life as hard as it is for TaToH. Good news for TaToH is that he's got the light cav over here, and there is no escape here for Viper. So TaToH's gonna get away with this, but he should have sunk that transport. Cannon Galleon is now in for Viper, but many of them are just going down to the fast fires in here. Fast fires on the way as well for Viper. I kind of feel like population-wise and in general map position-wise, I like TaToH's spot a little bit better. A lot of villagers went down over here from Viper, but that shouldn't really matter. 3rd castle for Viper in this choke point. Meanwhile though, TaToH is securing the right-hand side pawn, and I see some cannon galleons on the way as well for TaToH. The difference between TaToH and Viper on the right side pawn is that TaToH can actually defend his own cannon galleons, whereas Viper wasn't able to. On the other hand, TaToH is taking a very inefficient fight here against the skirmishers. He should retreat with those arbalests for the time being, because he's taking a somewhat inefficient fight. Viper now in with Hussar. Meanwhile, on the other side, Trebs are coming out for Britons. There is no Warwolf just yet. But I think that the first step is securing one of the pawns, getting some cannon galleons in. Because the moment you get cannon galleons, you can take down the opponent's buildings at the shore, and then potentially go for some landing and some raiding. Viper could potentially try landing on the left side. There's a defensive castle here for TaToH to sort of negate the damage though. Cannon galleon in for TaToH, and he's taking out the tower first. So he's being very mindful about those towers that could take down his ships. Behind this one, there is Trebs with Warwolf. That has to be a Warwolf because it's killing a lot. Now the Hussar are in. There is not a lot of Halberdiers here for TaToH just yet. Siege Engineers on the way for his Trebs. Chat, anyone knows if TaToH has Warwolf? Meanwhile, big counterattack here by TaToH. Or, excuse me, Viper. With the fast fires. Galleons are being masked here by TaToH. He managed to take down a couple of docks and towers, but now it's Viper all over the place on that pawn. Viper also has pretty considerable naval advantage on this side, and now TaToH needs to be careful not to lose his traps to the Hussar. Beautiful move from Viper to get some Hussar to the right, drag out the light cab, and now move in with the Hussar from the left. Snipes both Trebs as expected, and this is why you need some helps here for TaToH. He needs some damage output against those light cavalry. Now TaToH is getting pushed back on the right-hand side pawn. I don't see a single demo from him. Left-hand side pawn is also belonging to Viper now. TaToH's gonna have to push through the middle to have any chance in this one. But it's gonna be really difficult when there is cannon galleons. Especially this fast projectiles. They could just take down the Trebs in 5 seconds. Light Cav coming in here, and I feel like TaToH just wants to jump on those gold miners now. Because he knows that gold is starting to run dry for Viper. Fire ships against fire ships once again on this pawn, but I think that TaToH is losing the right side pawn. Not sure exactly what he was doing here though. Like, he decided to just dive in with the light cav. Maybe he intentionally threw them away. I'm not 100% sure. Because I kind of feel like he was pop-cabbed and he just wanted to throw away those light cav, so he has population space for combat ships. That's the only thing I can imagine here. TaToH with 10 villagers lead right now, but that shouldn't matter that much at this point in the game. Katie is slightly in the favor of a Viper here, but now that could easily swing as the fast fires are now jumping on the galleons of Viper. TaToH accidentally made a fishing ship over here as well. Probably not going to be a factor anytime soon, as TaToH still is a little bit more active when it comes to aggression on land. The key thing here is that Viper's got about 15 populations stuck in here in galleons that he's not able to use. The only thing that he could use them for is a landing, and there is a landing now for him. Meanwhile, TaToH is forcing the Viper back on the right-hand side for momentarily, but that could easily swing back in the favor of Viper soon as more ships come in. Here come the stables though, and I don't think that TaToH sees this. Okay, now he spotted the stables, and here's the deal. With those stables up, TaToH is gonna have to divert a lot of forces to clean it up. It's gonna be a nightmare for TaToH to clean it up in general. And TaToH is starting to struggle with population here. Both players are running out of gold. So this is the moment where gold efficiency is gonna start becoming massive. TaToH is just not going for heavy damos. But I think that, light cap will be diverted here. This is a crucial gold mine for TaToH, by the way. That's such an important gold mine. And Viper raiding that could easily win the game for Viper. Because I think Viper's only gold mine is over here. So being able to deny TaToH's gold just a little longer could be massive. And I mean, the stables went up, and this is the first time that someone has a foothold on the opponent's side. And I feel like now it's spiraling out of control. TaToH is stuck at about 170 population and just can't get away from the 30, 40-ish army numbers. Whereas for Viper, now he's carving out a bigger and bigger army lead. Elite Cannon Galleon on the way as well for him.
And I just don't see any army in the middle now for TaToH. I don't see a lot on the right side, although a lot of fast fares just now popped out, so maybe that was the one that TaToH was banking up resources for. All the traps from TaToH have been diverted to the left side to clean this up as soon as possible. Simultaneously, the right-hand side pawn is being pushed by TaToH. I saw him taking into heavy demos, but I didn't see any of those coming out just yet. Light caps from Viper will try to snap the traps, but that shouldn't really be a possibility. And this landing should be cleaned up for the time being. One relic for each player. Viper does have guilds to trade, or trade his resources a little bit more efficiently. Not sure about TaToH just yet, but yeah, this landing is probably gonna get cleaned up. Viper might try to snipe the traps, but I don't think that he has enough mass over here to deal with the castle fire, the ARP fire. That's a cleanup. Still, as I said, TaToH is stuck at 170 population. Now Viper is down to 170 himself, as the final bits of gold are being consumed. Have I mentioned that this map is just an invitation for a stalemate? Because I think it is. Anyways, now we got some cannon galleons here for Viper that are harassing the villagers of TaToH, and I just feel like Viper's economy is a little safer than TaToH's is. Like, TaToH's got no chance to take the left-hand side pawn, so Viper can just send in the next wave of villagers and do the exact same thing that he did this time. Viper's army being almost twice as big as TaToH's is I think enough to snowball this game. Because now TaToH is starving for gold, and you see he is tapping out, wishing good luck to his opponent in the next one. TaToH being very close to beat Viper here. And this is where we have to channel sort of the lost opportunities talk. So, if you think about it, there was a lost opportunity for TaToH in this game to send in the crossbows. Didn't really work out. Then there was some lost opportunities in the Starfighter game as well. So, a lot of moments where there were options for TaToH. He just missed out on them, and those pretty much piled up over time. And in the end, it is a victory for the Viper here. This map was more about execution rather than strategy, and every map where it was more about execution, those were won by Viper. Viper advances to the next round to face off against either Hera or ACCM. We'll find out very soon who is the opponent of Viper in the first semifinals of Holy Cup.